of our viewers on TV.
One day up at OHSU, I waited like 2 hours out in the waiting room. Then I get into the doctor's office and I wait another hour.
Ready?
And the doctor comes.
Okay, call this special session to order. We're here to review council goals. So, obviously, somebody's got an agenda to run. John, am I turning it over to you?
That was the thought. That would be more of a staff facilitated thing, but maybe that was a little presumptuous, but probably should have rehearsed that to some degree, probably to some degree, but I don't think I'd be too disappointed with the presentation here. It's trying to talk about where we're at with goals, how that fits into a bigger process as far as the full strategic action plan, big picture, and how the pieces that we have updates on the pieces that we are missing. Right? So,
Filling my water.
we are fantastic. So.
Okay.
Welcome. Hi. Yeah.
So we had thought about starting the first slide with a conclusion, just some remarks from the South County Collaborative we had a few weeks ago there. The exercise that most of the council participated in with the other counties in Columbia County, the cities in Columbia County, and commissioners in the port and things. And takeaways from that into the council's perceptions of that meeting, if they felt like this was a good exercise, something that we haven't done for the city, maybe something we want to do, kind of a placeholder, kind of hold it. But,
Yeah.
the strengths that came out of that meeting, I don't have Rachel and I proposed a tag team.
Well, yeah, and let's back up just a little bit. Like, I really want this to be good, productive time for you all and for us, and that's why we are here. There was talk, do all of the department heads want to be here, that type of thing. But this really, I think it's going to be more of a discussion and workshop format, and really want to hear from you, kind of your impressions as we go through. We're going to have dinner and a break, and then the second part will be really like going through every bit of the 1920 goals, removing, revising, prioritizing. But these first bits, we really wanted to kind of do more of a workshop format and set the scene. And it kind of came out of our management team meeting yesterday, where all of our departments have their goals. And we went through these at the state of the city, right? Where it's, reduce crime by 5%. And then there was this point of like, well, wait a minute, how does this fit into the strategic plan? How does this fit? We know that safe, livable communities is a key part of the mission. How does this fit? How do I measure it? What's a good report? And I think this is a great opportunity to set really clear expectations for you to let us as staff leadership know exactly the information that will be helpful, exactly how we go up and down the chain, and how our respective parts fit together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'll give our input.
Okay.
You better believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And thought this was a good place to start.
I thought this was great.
Good.
I think everybody should comment on this. It was nice to see all the leaders join together, and actually that SWOT was absolutely the first time I've ever done something like that. It was what SWOT stands for is up there: strength, opportunities, weakness, and threats. If somebody is watching, we sat down with the Port, County, Columbia City, Scappoose, and the City of St. Helens, and we discussed our strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. And there was a lot that came out of that, and about working together. So, anybody else like to comment on that? The counselors that attended?
Well, go ahead. I just thought it was great. I mean, I've been trying to have that meeting for almost 20 years now, so I thought it was great, and I think everybody else thought it was a good thing to have too. So we just need to continue them so that we keep talking to each other. And then we need to maybe pick out some pieces that maybe we need to talk to an individual city about, or whatever the case, which we know we want to talk to Scappoose about. I'd probably set that up first, if.
Yeah, it's a great meeting, but just like Dwight Ty's presentation, there's a what next down below. And so I'm seeing that, and we've got this to work on. And then the what next, especially collaborating with outside our council, with the other cities I think is going to be essential, and the what next step. So yeah, I thought this was a good exercise. I was hesitant at first because I hadn't seen too many things like this with the city and leaders around South County involved in anything like this, and it was reminiscent of our waterfront development when we envisioned what the waterfront would be, and we went through these exercises, had various stakeholders. So yeah, I thought it was great. But I'm interested to see where this goes in terms of the next steps.
And this, I think, is a really exciting piece. As like the staff leads from each of the jurisdictions, we're gonna come together and take our goals, our individual goals, see how they align. Of course, communicate this. It's gonna be recorded. It's very funny. I sent out the record for the record. So all of our jurisdictions are going to have this on their record. And it can be used to see where those goal alignments are, and us at the staff level think about next steps and fill in the blanks of things that are already in the works.
And my impression was that the managers were gonna get together, board and a commissioner, and talk about those things and meet probably in a couple months. Is that correct?
Yep.
Councilor Topaz, would you like to comment at all on it?
Well, being new, the biggest comment I had was, why hasn't this been done for years as a standard thing? To me, it was rather surprising this was the first one.
Yep.
Also on that next steps is setting a date for the next one. And I think we heard everything from yearly to every 3 months to let's get together next week. So I think the 6 month might be the sweet spot in all of those.
Know to do it.
To reconvene and move it forward, right?
Well, when you realize rumor is probably the biggest communication of what's going on in the area, 6 months would be nice. I mean, we don't even know what the other people are doing, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And as I say, rumors are a standard transport of information around here, which is not good.
So just to kind of answer your question, I mean, because I've been asking for it, I think it's just because so many of them have so many meetings they already go to, plus trying to get them all together at the same time. Congratulations, by the way. Is a tremendous job to do that, yeah.
Well, it also gives
But-
you a little-
And, you know, we try and talk to each other individually all the time, but that doesn't always necessarily get to the right place.
But the real thing is that we change the priority of the meetings. This has to be one of the more important meetings regionally, and it hasn't been.
Right.
The other meetings have opted into seclusion, so.
Yeah, it very well could be. It could morph into that over time if it continues to be successful, but
Everybody knows you got more power as a big team. You know, the bigger team you got, the more power you have.
the place that we talked about before to start this with this exercise of strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats was ideally not, if you look at we'll show you a triangle in a minute right here, but it's kind of in the middle. It really, it's a foundational building block as part of a process, and usually you'd start with a vision, common vision, and then we develop a global mission, and then we start into these activities to engage a lot of the community in this decision-making process. And I think Councilor Morton's point on the last time that the city really did anything close to that was with the waterfront, specifically about the project. And that was fantastic. We had a great turnout, but it has really got a lot of mileage out of that. And so as we move on, I just want to be thinking about places that, to look up and to look down, basically. And,
Yeah, that's well put. And that's, so here's the, the regional snapshot, and I think as we go through particularly the second half of this meeting, we'll see where we align. But before we do that, I think the idea for some of the first part of this meeting is to have a bit of a bigger conversation about service and about the internal workings here. So.
Can we back up for a second?
Absolutely.
We absolutely skipped over Jenny.
Council Carlson.
Just being quiet. My schedule was weird. I showed up for the meeting a week early, and then by the time I realized the meeting was that day, we're into it. And well, literally, I came down here a week early, and they're like, "It's not today." And I go, "I wonder why nobody was at the Meriwether place." But I did come down and sit down and have a conversation with John, and kind of got the update of what went on. And I had a conversation with Alex Tardif about the meeting, and really encouraged by the engagement of the other parties. I think the reason why it's come out now is we've had enough change in all those entities. We have a new face at the port, we have a new face at the county. It's just, people are like, okay, we're tired of the always the old, we want to look at something new. I think that it's right for a fresh start from lots of places. So I'm encouraged because there's lots of good, fresh leadership in every location that's looking at a new way of working together for better things. I think some of those other teams that get together, when you send one person from each place and they go to a regional thing, is so diluted. But when every single person's in the room, there's just a power summit that's in the room that you feel a real synergy. And I think that was what was achieved in the meeting. I think everybody came away from a positivity that we were united for citizens. I think that's what I heard from every single person I talked to. I think, when I go and I represent St. Helens and I'm in a room of 20 people, that's diluted. But when 5 people from St. Helens go to a room and there's 5 people from Scappoose and 5 people from the county, that's a lot of power in one room.
Well, thank you. I didn't mean to skip over you. Not being in attendance, I didn't know if you.
No, I had conversations with John ahead of time. I'd had conversations with Keith ahead of time and after, and then I just happened to have a phone conversation with Alex after.
So
Great. That's a wonderful report.
most of all, and I don't know that 6 months is, I know I hear you guys, but I don't know if that's urgent enough, because everybody has that sense that they know that Portland, Hillsboro's growing out of their UGB, they just are. And Portland is coming this way. And we need the infrastructure. That's, up there, available industrial property, and develop infrastructures on opportunities. We have the opportunity to start discussing and planning that now.
Well, just in terms of tactics of where we go with this, and if I think the city is kind of steering this council in many ways. I think we made that happen. And to me, the 6-month thing, just when Jenny said, the things about new leadership and new people coming in, we go 6 months from now.
Be in a whole different place.
We'll be into the election kind of thing, and who's going to be run with. It'd be nice to leave new leaders a set, some kind of set. So I would be looking forward to a meeting with 6-7 months from now, so that when leadership changes, and it's going to change throughout the entire county, both county seats and many city seats are up for grabs. So if we have something that we can pass on to the new leadership, I think that's going to be important. That's my sense of why I think there's many reasons why there's a sense of urgency, and I think the mayor hit on one, and kind of think that this is important too, as well. We've got a good platform to go from.
I'm going to make a comment. I've been out around town talking to people about this meeting particularly, and we have a note, available land for industrial development. The comment I'm getting from the industrial people around here is Portland is chasing businesses out with taxes and other things. And they suggested that we somehow have a flyer to the businesses somehow, hey, we got a place out here, because Portland is actively pushing businesses out. It isn't, hey, this is a good place to go. It's like, you need to go someplace, come here. It's really a different way of looking at it. Even though we may not be ideal, our taxes and problems that Portland is causing businesses is minimal. And I think we didn't put into it the opportunity that, Portland is causing a lot of problems for the people down there, and they're looking for a place to get out.
People want to be in Oregon and they're trying to find the most financially beneficial place to do that.
And Portland is not it lately.
Multnomah County's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the purpose of that meeting was to think regionally. So we try to act,
So that includes the board and it includes everybody.
and there's some good examples of other, Witten, there's councils of governments that are more like a formal governing body that will provide services to, like common services to communities, and some of them are formalized, some of them are less formal, some are just regular committee meetings, like Washington County has, their cities meet regularly. But this is kind of a first step towards thinking regionally, I guess, is the theme of that. And
For me, we have a lot of regional groups out here, and in 12 years of following this community, I haven't seen a lot of bang for my buck from those regional representation. And I think that would hate to see this effort be put on the back burner or put on any kind of snooze mode. You kind of strike while the iron's hot. People are excited, people are enthused, and waiting too long is not a good answer.
That's right.
People are on top of it, and it's just like, otherwise you wait too long and all of a sudden it's just like all the other regional groups, and it's like, oh, I already went to this meeting, so I already heard that news. So I think that sooner, somewhere between the 3 and the 6 is where I'm thinking.
That is such an important point. And that's the staff leadership group is meeting next Friday. And it's setting a date, concrete next steps, and let's do it.
Being super aware of that vacation window that becomes really hard to meet.
Yeah.
So it's like you count 6 months out and you're in August, and that's not a good month. So it's like you might be better off on the 5.
September, October style?
No, you don't want to be in Halloween month. August to November 1st is like, should be like, in a hotel, that would be the black zone. We're not
Well-
missing anything then. But that's why you think June. You think June, because the kids get out of school and people disappear.
All right.
The other thing is, if you go to July, budgets and planning for a lot of industrial people.
I just
So
think
how
what's
are
fresh.
we going to get this together, Jen, by June? I mean, the next step, we haven't even identified yet in many senses, and how are we going to get all of this together so quickly? I mean,
Rachel has just
Rachel
said,
doesn't sleep.
Rachel has just said they're gonna have, the leadership team's gonna have a meeting,
Yes.
so they will,
We meet
we're giving her
next Friday.
feedback.
Yes. Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand that.
I
So-
think that we'll have, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I think that when we left that meeting, I heard Doug Hayes and Mike Sykes said that we're gonna get together. That we're gonna, I thought they were talking maybe in a couple months we'd re-adjourn with the game.
Sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
What I thought I heard him say.
We're just giving you feedback to take to your leadership meeting for you.
I would rather, even if the city has to facilitate it, I feel that that went way further than what we were spending on CSAT. And I think even if we have to pay for the place to have those meetings, we don't have to pay for the people to come, but I think it really, and being the biggest city in Columbia County, I think that's our kind of our leadership role.
I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful because it was so successful and it went so well. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But it seems like a lot of folks are really interested in keeping the ball rolling and that a lot of folks found value in it. I have not spoken to anyone who has not found value in this regional thinking. I know just chatting with Scappoose that, and here, it makes sense that we do the internal work and we set our internal goals. Their goal-setting meeting is this coming Saturday, and that we have our ducks in a row to feed back into the regional plan. So the timing here is great. So let's do it. Right, so here we're going from a really regional look to your individual and personal place with your service. And the first part of this is really just a roundtable about why we love this community. Open for
So just kind
discussion.
of like what, one through, I mean, you kind of got the mission is all tied into why I do it, why we serve, who do we serve, and individual mission. So, I mean, they're kind of all why I serve is because I love this community. I wanted to step up. At the time, I felt that we had a good mayor, but we didn't have an active mayor at the time that was out there in the public. He definitely knew policy. I wanted to help the city along because I grew up here all my life, and the city back in the 80s was booming. You did not want, nobody wanted around this town. 4 or 5 mills. It was a great place to grow up. If you needed something, you went to the mills. They sponsored baseballs, softballs, everything. They supplemented our sewer and our water, and all that's gone. And we need to somehow bring back industry, and that's kind of was why I really wanted to step up, was to get involved and be of service to my community. And that's who I serve. I mean, it's kind of all in one. Is that, first and foremost, I know for myself, I want a safe community where all are welcome. I want people to be able to thrive. That's a must,
And you're really getting there, because we're gonna really take a real deliberate look at the mission and talk about what means the most to us. So for this, any other comments? What do you enjoy most about living here?
Matt has his hand up.
No, I was just reiterating actually exactly what Rachel was going to ask was what specifically about this community right now do you love about living here? That's what we're trying to get with the first question is go to have a roundtable discussion of what things we love about this community.
Because it is a sense of community.
Right, I can
It's
throw my
not
neighbors.
so big that you don't have very community-oriented events.
Everyone, you gonna go one at a time? How you doing it?
I think open discussion.
Yeah. Throw them out there.
Yeah.
The Riverview
Yeah.
is to die for.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's almost like nowhere else. It really is.
Yeah.
I love driving to work every day.
I
Get
love
in the
that.
park and see that river when I walk into City Hall.
Just down here at Dillard's Mortgage yesterday, or not yesterday, a week ago, a pheasant, right there.
Oh,
A pheasant, right there. Deer all over.
I mean, I could
That's what I
list
love about it.
several dozen animals that go through my yard every year. It's crazy.
We get the pheasants
From
on
deer
city limits.
to coyotes to everything, yeah.
Yeah, driving home at night even after council meetings, as late as we leave here, and then going up around the curves and seeing all the deer right there, and having to
Always.
slow down because there's crossing. It's like
I have
you don't
counted,
get that anywhere.
that is Kenny Kondrowski's house, and I have counted 12 deer in that yard at one time. 12.
I like the Fullerton elk herd as well.
And yeah, when was it? We were talking about the new speed signs on the curve there. Just had a few people in here commenting about it, and I tried going around there at 40 miles an hour or whatever it was. We need new speed signs. Anyway, a small community, you can get things done. And communication is so much more effective than like living in Portland. I was active in a neighborhood association because for some reason I wanted to get a little smaller than the big city. You get kind of lost in any kinds of things with planning or whatever. So when a neighborhood, when I started to develop neighborhoods and neighborhood coalitions, I was really interested because you can solve community problems very effectively and efficiently that way. And I think this city is the right size, just the right size for my temperament in terms of solving community problems. it feels very comfy that way. And one other thing about living here is that I find that the people are ready to roll up their sleeves and become volunteers and work eagerly with pride to make our city a better place to live in many ways, whether it's education or parks or whatever. I mean, it's very apparent to me anyway.
Jenny, Steve?
For the newcomers. We weren't born here, right, Steve?
Nope.
Oh, no. I think we still have like a sense of, people want to do things, and actually a lot of people do things with not wanting credit, that do things behind the scenes.
That was-
That we know, or I know about, that they don't want it known. They just don't want it known. They just want to be able to help.
That
And we're
was
not
my
looking for-
point is that something that, because I'm not, I mean, yes, I've lived here for more than 20 years, but not a lifer. But the thing that people don't realize that, and this goes to what do I enjoy about serving on the council and what do I least enjoy, a lot of people don't know, some people in this circle do know, but people in the community don't know that, you know, all of us have bumps in our own personal lives, and, you know, I don't make a big deal, and those individuals don't make a big deal when they step up and they're there for me in my personal life, when they've helped me out with my kids, when I've been in a bad situation. And I can think lots of members of this council, lots of members of city staff that just found out something was going on and helped me out, not because they wanted credit or because they wanted anything, just because they're a good person. And I think that sometimes we lose track of that we're a team and we all work together, you know, in good times and bad times. And I think that sometimes people lose track of that part of this relationship we don't have here, is that we have each other's back in the community and in this room. We care about it that much.
I'm gonna tag on to volunteers since I've worked with a lot of volunteers since I've been here, seen them come and go. And it's kind of a two-sided story, but there could be, maybe this is one thing that this group could really work on, would be what's happened in the past is you get a group that volunteers and they go for a few years and pretty soon something happens and causes a hiccup or whatever. They get a new person and then that person talks about how bad the old person was, and the old person talks about how bad the new person is, and it goes back and forth and yada, 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 and whatnot. But getting to that, though, that works both ways, but they're still willing, if they get a good cause, they're still willing to come back and volunteer if there's a good cause and somebody they can work with and whatnot. So maybe that's something this group could work on, because some of the most effective things was the Ford Leadership Program coming up here and teaching people how to get along together and how to work together and all those kind of things. You know, maybe as a county-wide consortium, we can make those things happen every year so that it builds a bigger volunteer base. So,
I mean, it was excellent about connecting people that ordinarily don't connect. I mean, I met a lot of people. I'm sitting in this room because of Ford Leadership. It's just a reality. I mean, there's
yeah,
a lot of good work that's
Doug and I were on the first one, and we ended up working down at Scappoose on the CZ Trail, you know, and everybody went down there and worked together, you know.
I know, I want an opportunity to
But it wasn't all
learn.
about St. Helens, it was all about doing
Right.
something together that
It was about the
benefited
county,
me.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And you grew those relationships and grew those connections.
Because that's the thing, you know, people go to a meeting and if they don't trust anybody or know anybody in the meeting, what are the chances they're gonna come back, you know? Or if they at least have some connections and whatnot, it helps a lot. 'Cause, I mean, you know, I do that when I go to form a committee, first thing I do is go to my friends first, you know, and see who they know, yeah.
Very
So.
good. Counselor Topaz down there?
I have a very different outlook on it. We've got some very intense volunteers, but as far as the general population, it's poor. We work our volunteers to death. I've talked to a number of them. But as far as the community volunteering, percentage-wise, it's very low. And I'm speaking from coming from other areas, both in the west and the east and the south. as far as the Northeast, but around here, we don't have that many volunteers as a percentage. We got a lot of opportunity, and for some reason, we've given up on ourselves. One woman at the Meriwether said, "We think poor." And this town in the 50s had the highest per capita income of any town of our size, I think almost any town in the U.S. And somehow we don't pat ourselves on the back.
So, Counselor, what do you enjoy most? That's not
In
a,
fact, there are problems to solve. I like solving problems.
there you go. Like, as, that poverty mentality though, because that really resonated with me too, and hearing that was like really, really sad, and raising a child in this community, that was one of those moments that was like, let's not pass that on.
And when you see, and I'm surprised how few people know the past of this town, how good the town has been, and people don't even remember it was good that it went downhill. They just kind of remember that it's never been good, which may only be a few days old, but nobody remembers the good part of it.
But there's opportunity.
Well, there's a huge amount of opportunity, and people don't look up to see how much opportunity there is here. That's the other thing. It's kind of, think poor is very much the problem. Not what we could do, how rich we could be, but we think we can't.
So, what I like also about this community is that it has a lot of kindness in this community. Now, if you read Facebook, you're not gonna see it, okay? Because we're on live. But it costs $0 to be a decent human being and to have some integrity. You know, and we have a lot of that here.
Well, and let's address this second question. You know, what do you enjoy about your service? What do you enjoy about this service in this room and with our staff and departments?
That I get to serve the citizens and do their will, and I get passionate about it. I've been misperceived sometimes by the council here when I get passionate about it. Not in it for anybody else but them. I'm not self-serving. I see that's on there too. Individual mission. Really don't have an individual mission. Trying to do the people's work.
Yeah, and we'll get there.
So.
It's a thinker. And that's other
And
folks
it's a sense of urgency. I'm not someone who sits back and waits for things to happen. There's 3 types of people in this world. People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who wonder what just happened. Mm-hmm. And you definitely don't want to be that third one.
Right. And that's open discussion.
One of the problems this state has, this area, somebody says the Northwesterner is so much of an individualist, he hasn't practiced working together. A lot of if I can't do it, heck with it. Well, could you and your neighbor do it? No, just me. I mean, as an overall attitude, we're realizing that me and my neighbor have got to do it. No, if he can't do it himself, tough, I'm going to do it myself. And this is kind of a historic thing for the Northwest, not just St. Helens.
And can we put like the lens of service on that?
Well, no, I don't serve anybody, just me. I got my own farm up here. I cut my own trees. I got my own firewood. I don't need anybody else. I mean, and that's our historic.
I don't want it, and for the millions watching at home, I don't want it to sound like you are coming and saying that's why you serve on the council.
No.
I'm the individual.
Now, as I say, that's the contrast that I see. I've worked together for all kinds of places and know how well it goes. So the tricks to get people to work together, would like to start using these tricks. But to realize other places, people just have a normal tendency to work together. One of our roadblocks here is we normally don't work together. When we do great things, but normally we just don't.
I guess I have a converse opinion.
Yeah.
I moved out here in 95, and from 95 to 08, I thought just like that. It's like, everybody's alone and you're all, every man for himself, and starting for leadership, started working on things in the community. It's amazing when I stop sitting in the back of the room feeling like an outsider and just dare to say hello. All of a sudden, this person's working on a project to help these single moms. This person's working on this project to help these people. Somebody finds out I need a ride to a doctor's appointment, and there's 3 people that offer me, and I have 4 rides to 1 doctor appointment. So it's like when I dare to not be embarrassed and not be intimidated and just open myself up to this community, it's amazing how many caring people are here. And I think that sometimes that it's easy to isolate in the safety of your own home or in your device and forget that there are a lot of people that, you know, you can be sitting next to somebody that needs something, and if you don't say hello to them, you're never going to know that. And I've just found that in my time of serving on the council, the amount of giving people that I have in my life is grown exponentially. And I think that I have a hard time coming up with a list of people that I would call selfish. So I have a different rendering of what my last 6 years have been in this room.
I feel that way in this community.
Because most people want to do the right thing, and they want to benefit others.
I'm gonna ask you the question, how many people you know don't have the courage to ask for help?
Lots of people.
Yeah, that's the people we gotta work with.
Right, but I mean, by example, you know, because like, people in the community know that I survived cancer, and I didn't think anything of going to work with no hair and wearing ball caps for years, and people are like, oh my God, you're like, and I can't want to say this on the public record, but they used the short as BA, because I just did it, and they're like, we all are in awe that you did chemo and came to work. And I said, well, I just appreciate you being there for me. And it's like, I think sometimes you just have to be yourself, lumpy and bumpy and, you know, and broken. And I think that people appreciate that, and they're like, oh, you're not so bad because you're broken like me, and that's okay.
And this is so valuable. I'm gonna keep rolling, but I think this is really valuable, and I think it's a beautiful time to talk about the mission and to talk about our neighbors, and that's, I mean, we can all read, but let us read. Let us say it together in prayer. You know, this is our mission, to provide quality, effective, and efficient service to our citizens. By doing so, we will. You want to take a turn reading?
No, I was actually going to go back to Flashlight because I didn't really get a full, complete picture from either Keith, Councilor Morton, or even Councilor Topaz of what they like about serving on city council.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for asking. And here's an essential team member right here, because he picks up on pieces that are missing and comes back and says, hey, we didn't hear from Mr. Locke or Mr. Morton because we bypassed him or somehow. I really appreciate you. So one of the things I like, what I really enjoy about serving on a city council, the word serving, I think, is key. I grew up as a 4-H person. Your hands, your heart, your health, your head. You know, I mean, it's a kind of a 4-way thing about what life is all about, and what happiness and feeling good about yourself as you mature. That's just always stayed with me. And I became involved with people throughout my entire life. I always felt that I was a team member or belonged to some type of team, whether it was in Little League or whatever. But it was more than that. It was part of the student council when I was in high school, and I was just kind of like gravitated to this team kind of thing. Developed of all things a bunch of art majors to get together, and we created some sculptures in Avery Park down in Corvallis that are still standing, and they're beautiful. I'm so proud of that. But we had an entire team of art majors who participated on that. I ended up being the intern for the prof who headed that up, And it just feels good about doing projects and getting them done and working together. In the military, I was always a part of a team. Some small teams. At that time, our life was on the line every day. I got involved in being first responder to a lot of situations that we saved a lot of lives. And I just find everywhere I go that I continue this team kind of thing. My career as a head coach, almost like 90 teams throughout my career that I coached, high school level. That is a lot of coaching. And some of those teams were up to 60 and 70. A lot of them were down around a dozen or two, depend on what the thing was. But I've always been around teams. So I retire, and I get involved in, like I was saying, the neighborhood association, another kind of teaming thing where we all got together and figured out what could we do for our to the planning commission and work with the planning commission in Portland to make our neighborhood better and more effective. Come down here and I take a look around it, move to this beautiful city because it's so damn beautiful, it's so wonderful, so centrally located, just the right size. Move here, and the next thing I know, I get involved in something, and here it is, City Council. So that's my story, and I really like what I'm doing with the Parks Group, with the Parks Commission. I see that as a team, and then I see this as a team as well. So that's it. I mean, I love serving. I've been serving, it seems like, a public servant all my life. All my adult life.
I get that, but so we need to, when we answer these questions, let's try to, and I got your like being on a team and being of service. Let's stick to, there's 3 questions up there, so we can get through this, because we got a lot of work to do ahead of us. And I'm running this meeting, Matt, okay? So I ask council to please get your point across a little bit faster so we can get through this agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry I got long-winded. I'm old.
Well, no.
I mean, I've got a lot of years there.
I run a meeting and,
You know,
and there's,
my best attempt to answer that.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
And let's welcome any other input.
I'll try and make quick, just,
and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, there was,
yeah.
I got long-winded.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you mentioned that. On this slide at one point, I had like one sentence on da-da-da-da, you know, and then I took that prompt off, so.
Keith, I'm not trying to cut
I know.
anybody short. I'm just trying to make everybody aware that, you know,
I mean, basically, yeah, just like to serve, and I'm in a unique situation where, you know, had cancer and whatnot, and I knew I was disabled, so I had to do something, and I joined a cancer foundation, which was made up of a board of all doctors and nurses, and after about 6 months in there, I go, I need some political lessons, so.
Small city government was the way to go.
I'll tell you, there are politics in doctors, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I got on council and been having fun, you know.
And Mr. Mayor, if it's all right, I think the last one, I kind of want to leave that to like personal reflection, if that's all right, while we go through to the mission, because it will.
we didn't want to open up that.
Well,
I think it's good
It'll
that we
open,
hear,
yeah.
maybe it, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you have it up there.
all right. That's,
What do I least enjoy about serving on the city council is, okay, if I'm honest, when I'm out there, because I'm out in the community a lot, and people want to know about what's being done, and I have to shrug my shoulders sometimes and just say, well, it's, you know as much as I do. And that's very frustrating when you have so many irons in the fire with so much planning and so many individuals out there. So what do I love being in my community. What do I least like about it is that I'm constantly asked and bombarded out there, and I don't mind, but more so than any other individual here, because I'm out 90% more, or I'd see you guys a lot more. I guarantee you that. And I'm not tooting my
Well, you're
horn.
new, too.
And I'm not
It
tooting
makes a
my-
difference when
I'm
you're
not
new
tooting my
also.
own horn, Steve.
I know.
I'm not tooting my
But
own horn. It's not about me stroking my ego. That's not why I got on here to serve. It's really not. It's really to move the city forward in an orderly fashion, and that's what I least like about it. The government's slow.
Well, that's, yeah, government's slow, that's absolutely true, yes, but just, not saying may not, or whatnot, but yeah, the first like 5-10 years on council, your phone's going constantly. After a while, they learn about you and kind of figure out which way you're going on things, so they don't bother you as much. I still get calls though, yeah, just not as much. I know you're out there more, not saying you aren't. Although I was out a lot the first 18 years or 17 years too, remember?
And other responses? Let's invite some other responses to this.
Well, many times I've witnessed again, because of coaching and being part of teams, that there's a breakdown and an ineffectiveness of government, if you want to call it, but of getting things done. A lot of times when we disagree, it gets very emotional, and that's pretty stressful for like a lot of people to be around that kind of emotion. But you get a lot done. I mean, you get it settled. I think that's the least thing that I enjoy is the amount of emotional tension that comes from this body that manifests into just a bad feeling.
You know, I wasn't gonna say anything, but since you said it, I'll say me too.
I'd like more explanation on that, if you guys have it. While we're talking about it.
The room's tense, and it's, I use literally half of my vacation time is spent serving the city. And that's the time off that I take from my employer, and I would like to feel that it matters. And there are some days when I go home and feel like, why am I doing this? So, because it's stressful, and it's like, you realize as you get older, your stress meter just isn't quite as durable as it used to be. And you're like, how much stress are you willing to take on? You start looking at your blood pressure and cancer and diabetes and all that kind of stuff, and you start thinking, where can you let off some stress? That kind of thing. And you have to look at what is a priority and what you're willing to learn and lean into and how much you're willing to take. You have to realize that, this is kind of my point, is that people in this room have multiple sides. When people ask me in the community, and I do work in this community, and people ask me about each one of you, I said they're good people that have good hearts and are doing the best they can. And I said, and I'm not gonna say a bad word about any of them. And I said, but this, and this, and it's like, that's not how I roll, because these are good people that love this community. And I just leave it at that, because, in the heat of the moment, everybody's excited and they're passionate about their views. That doesn't mean that it's fun.
Would you like to elaborate a little more on that?
Well,
On
I
stress?
think I already did.
Okay. So, yeah, Keith? You kind of talked about what I brought up about the phone, but you didn't give us
About the what?
about phone calls and
Oh,
being out. Is that what you least like about it too?
oh, no, I don't have that. The least is just that it takes too long to get everything done, that's bottom line.
Kind of the same as mine.
Can I elaborate on, or Offer my personal
I gotta get to
perspective.
Counselor Topaz first.
All right, at any time's appropriate.
The thing I found most upsetting about the council is the amount of information I don't get. I'd like a lot more information both from staff just on an ongoing basis. My past history, I've handled a lot more things continuously than here. The tension here compared to an operating room or other places I've been is not a big deal. Yelling and shouting with surgeons is not a big deal. You just have to understand that's what has to be done. And the other thing you have to understand, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. You gotta keep going. My business, when you lost them, somebody died. You still gotta get the next one in maybe another 3 minutes or maybe 2 days. So if you're not ready to pick up, keep going, this is not the place to be. But I don't think we're together enough in information to really work as a good, hard team. We're kind of almost too much compartmented. And we're compartmented away from, quote, the workers who are to serve us, which is the city staff. Sometimes I feel that the city staff is going to tell me, and I have to accept everything 100% and no questions to what they're doing. And running big projects, there were times I questioned a lot of people and pointed out they were wrong. And that's just the way it was. Not a tension point, just the way it was. And I don't find that we'll say, let's get it done mechanism really here as much as we're worried about not hurting other people's feelings. And as somebody once said to my father, he'll yell at me today, tomorrow's a new day. We haven't learned that yet. Sometimes what we happen today carries over to tomorrow, and that we've got to get rid of. Because sometimes, the other thing we fail to realize, a lot of times, both people are right. It's just a different way of doing it.
Yep.
And that doesn't seem to, isn't that we're trying to get the same thing done? No, you got to do it my way. And sometimes there's 3 other ways too, and that carries over too many days. That's one of our big problems.
Okay, John.
So I was just going to share that this frustration of timing, of getting it done quickly, that coming into the public service career, I had worked a decade into construction, and very mindset is very different. Your
Deadlines.
It's deadlines is to go fast. And, you're just leaving a wait, trying to get as much done. And I've carried that in when I came into the public service. I think I carry some of those sentiments today in doing things. But the lens of government and the community-based decision-making and things that have a lot of broad input, because you're serving a whole community, and there's a lot of people that have input on these things. We're trying to distill all that and put that information into plans, and then we'll go through this public process, doing check-ins along the way. It's slow by design, and I've actually been reading some foundational books on this topic, and it's really was created to give that check-in for the community base. I get it. I get the frustration of pace.
Sorry.
So I have one last thing
Yeah.
on mine, and I hope nobody takes this personally, but sometimes I don't feel like we're, this council, and I've tried to state this in my meetings and I've tried to correct it, is when they make a decision is heard by staff and our wishes are implored. Clearly, I had a issue about 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, 2 months ago, on camera. Well, actually, we were off camera on that one because we weren't working. But this council had said that they did not want a certain something to be drawn up, and it came that way anyhow. And it's been being worked on for 2+ years. So if we're talking about that type of stuff here, and this is where we're gonna get gut level honest and try to start working together, then I really gotta just say that that was not okay. I actually had Mr. Walsh in on a couple meetings, Council President with a meeting, on that certain subject. I've brought people in from out in the public to give testimony on that certain particular subject. I have talked to the two individuals personally a number of times, and this council also ordered it, that we did not want that. And it still came to us and left me looking very bad because we wasted a lot of taxpayer dollars on something that was not desired by this council. And if it requires that we change the Parks Master Plan, then we need to know about it. We don't just keep tight-lipped and carry on about business as staff. And that falls on Mr. John Walsh.
This is so good, and please, can you hang on to this when we get into goals and when we get into that, the up and down and the governance?
It's definitely a process problem, because
Yeah.
there's so many times that we've talked about things.
Hang on to
and made
this.
decisions, not just then, lots of times, we've made decisions, and it comes back around again. It's like, I thought that was already done.
Yep.
I thought that was already done. People aren't actioning on things when it's been decided.
And I will try and
I
highlight
think
this.
that would reduce some of that stress and that feeling like you're going in a circle all the time.
Please, hang
I
on to.
didn't sign up for the hamster wheel.
No. No. No new wheels. But do hang on to this for when we get into the process. Dinner is here. I'm going to, this is our mission. We will be coming back to this many, many times. But we will grab our food and we will talk a little bit about what piece of the mission resonates with you the most. What piece? And it's up here on the walls. It's all about, I mean, this is what we live. Some of us can recite it. You know, is it that safe and healthy environment? Is it a sound economic framework? Is it open and responsive, quality of life? Like, what is the one word or like one little bit of phrase that resonates the most with you? And let us please get our dinner.
Yeah, it's interesting, the mission has bold.
Yes, yes, and I had to sit here and copy the bold because it was deliberate.
It's easier to see on the ones.
You're right on top, so.
What's that? Oh,
you're
thank
right
you.
on top.
Nice.
Randy talked to you.
Oh, it's got my name on it. Oh,
Yep.
it wasn't, you were being polite.
Who's
You-
Cobb?
Said you was trying
Who's
to-
Cobb?
I'm Cobb.
Rachel Cobb. Rachel Cobb Berry.
I'm Cobb. Worst middle name I've ever had.
I mean, I said I was at work, I didn't have your email address at work.
No, they need it.
And I said she was welcome to leave a note in your box here.
Yeah, she did reach me through. Salad?
That's your second.
Thank you.
This is, I don't know who this is. What does that say?
It says 4:45.
Is it food
To
or is it
you.
utensils?
Maybe it's utensils. I bet that's what it is. Yeah, I
There's a
think.
joke about 6 and 7/8 that comes that same way.
Those are two words that should never be in the same sentence.
Fish taco?
Yeah, no, especially not for girls. It's my unpolitically incorrect thing to say.
Being recorded, Lisa?
Yes, we are live.
Quietly.
I'll turn it to the laptop.
Oh, it's
It's on the, it'll keep changing.
It's on a few seconds delay.
You can't shut it off.
They won't be watching you eat while they eat. You can all eat dinner together as a community.
That was the one thing that
I
somebody.
will say
complained
this,
That we eat too much.
that this Plymouth
Pass
Pub
these
is
out.
a nice little addition to our community.
Absolutely. The fact that they're expanding is truth to that.
They would not be here if we're not for food.
Well, and Molly's Market has expanded enough that she now has an employee.
Yep, she's actually making it. That's fantastic.
Everybody's food. From Steve.
It was Cobb, I'm chef.
Oh, really?
It doesn't matter.
Steve.
There is a spinach salad I was hoping for. Not to be.
There's ranch over here and blue cheese and
Whoa, I'll take the other 1,000. I like all the islands. Oh, I got it.
Oh,
I didn't know.
I guess there's only one.
I didn't know if there was another.
Oh,
Thank
I have a Thousand Island.
You have 1,000? Oh, we'll keep it if you need it for
No,
dipping.
I ordered fry sauce.
Oh,
And I thought this was the fry sauce.
there it is.
It's close.
There, yeah,
A little more ketchup in it.
it's just the islands. The islands of the.
No, that's why when I didn't see the fry sauce, I was willing to take that.
So who wound up being Cobb? Oh, I had a Cobb. Oh, good. I thought I was Cobb.
Ah,
Spicy chicken
Rachel
sandwich.
tried stealing your salad.
And then-
I could have eaten a chef salad.
Took the recommendation for the tacos.
That's like grandpa bread you got there. My dad loves that dark bread.
I have a lunch meeting tomorrow.
So with it being budget season, I guess I'm gonna go with economic framework.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. That's one of my
There you
After my own.
standouts.
go. Am I- Well, and even, let's think about your little, your piece, your phrase, your all of that, and then the next slide. I can't ask you to keep your piece through a couple of slides and some demographics here, can I?
So, and when was this mission created? This was done,
I'm pretty sure it's in my tenure here.
I think we guessed
It's a lot like Columbia Cities, by the way.
Very much.
It's a few words off of Columbia
Very much.
City.
Really?
I thought we tweaked it though,
You did?
in the last 8 years.
Is it in the last 8 years that you've kind of
Well, because it used to be longer and I was like, it still is too long for me.
is that?
If you have to read it, that's the one thing is I did a little bit of research at other cities and looked at it. And sometimes the simpler it is, to cut out the fluffy language, it's easier to resonate. Because if you can't say it when you're walking by somebody on the street, if you have to pull out a card and go, here, I need my glasses, it's probably, I think if you made it simpler.
Usually a mission is kind of like one sentence or one breath that you can really get it out.
Yep. Or if you think about,
You mean the mission, you're talking about the mission.
Right.
Well, let me ask you, is the mission only one sentence, or do you read all of that seem to be goals?
That's kind of,
That's,
that's kind of the discussion, right? So,
That's what we're
the
leading
mission
to.
and the goal, yes.
Yep.
I think we talked about that. It's the mission and the goal, yeah.
providing quality, effective, and efficient services to its citizens is a pretty good mission.
right?
Doesn't need to expound a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, and the how can, how is addressed in other places.
Does everyone like the current mission? Do you think it needs to be, should it be just that first, to provide quality, effective, efficient, and then when we talk about goals later, do these things below it get added onto there and have specific things to work towards? But for the mission itself, as it reads now, is it too long? Is it?
Well, I just like the first sentence. I'm with Jenny.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that those are goals that, rather than a mission, the things that down below is how you would do that, and exactly what you do.
And it's kind of vision-y too. It's like, we aim to be leadership that is open and responsive. We aim to, in the future, it's a safe and healthy environment. It's that like kind of vision-y, aspirational type, which is helpful for
Well,
all of it.
I was sleepless one night and watched a lot of YouTube off of a certain city. And their whole mission was, we're all about the family. No fluffy words, no fluffy goals. And then one went by and they showed the economic development, and they showed their parks, and they showed their housing. They said this is all about supporting their number one vision, safe and healthy place to have a family. Every single person, it'd be hard to argue with that on the street.
That's great to be able,
Really hard to argue with on the street.
and to be able to get there,
And simple words.
everybody understanding it and everyone
With simple
sharing
words.
that.
But I mean, I'm sure they didn't get there overnight.
Not that, it opens it up more because, not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but Randy's favorite saying is that we're here for the service, to service the citizens. So we shouldn't be doing anything else other than service the citizens, which
See, that's what's wrong.
it's changed a lot now. We're definitely outside of our box now.
Well, it can mean a lot of different things, too.
See, I find that wrong,
What do you mean?
Serving,
because we should be all the people, not just,
Right.
Well, exactly, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's-
don't believe in that either, yeah.
we, you know, like, gonna make the other guys in a good place. No, we are all together.
So making it about community, that opens it up to
Yeah.
anything. Whatever makes a strong community, let's do it.
But what it did in the videos I watched, is it gave like a lens.
Yeah.
So when they looked at something, does this benefit healthy families?
Just real short, this is about
Family wage jobs, absolutely. Clean parks, absolutely. Healthy, vital schools.
But the word community gets everybody into it rather than we can
Well,
only,
it was
there's only.
never about him.
Yeah, I know.
Because the mayor's doing all the interviewing. He's the person with the microphone.
Yeah,
But
watch
the citizens are doing all the talking.
sausage check over there.
So he's like, it was kind of like put on as, I might be the drum leader, but it's all about you.
Yeah, but this is kinda,
so Councilor Topaz, you're talking about changing the our citizens to more of a community.
yes.
Well,
There's one from Lebanon, which is Lebanon is a friendly and thriving community.
boom.
Kind of more
That's generic.
very
Yeah.
generic, aspirational.
All right, I'm thinking,
I've seen the other ones are the best community in America,
Right.
most livable community. Some things about families.
St. Helens the best kept secret.
The community of St.
it'd be hard to live that mission, think about living that mission.
Disappears at city limits.
I've always saw those 3 bullet points as goals, ever since I read the mission and started to switch and go back into that, those individual sentences.
That's the tools to do it, not,
What do you think?
Yeah, I like just keeping it short. I think we could really think about that quite a bit and really identify with. We're a welcoming community, there's no doubt about that. Lots to do here, it really is, when you think about it. That rec program that we got going
You know
now,
who I figure out has the best business plan right now? The In-N-Out Burger.
yeah.
So what we need to say is, don't come here, the lines are too long.
With the rec program, you got kayak down here or on the other end of town, because I consider Bayport Marina or Scappoose Bay, St. Helens. So you've got 2 different places to launch kayaks. You've got all kinds of boating storage here. So parks, we are wealthy in parks. Scappoose wishes they had half as many parks as we got.
So, is this something that maybe you feel as a council that is a workshop item or a work session item to talk about the mission, revamping it, talking internally, going out with the community? How do you guys feel about that?
I think we have more important things to do at this point, and I think I don't see the mission as being flawed. So if it isn't, why fix it? I mean, we can make that short, we can do it as if shortening it into
Clean it up a little bit.
that first sentence. And
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I think what Rachel and John and I are talking about is exactly that, is just really shortening up the mission to make it concise, clear, so that everybody on council, everybody on staff, everyone in the community understands what we're all doing here.
And let's keep going, and let's talk a little bit more about process and
Is this an
about
opportunity?
how we orient ourselves.
Is this an opportunity?
Kinda.
Remember how at the meeting I talked about we need to change the perception of St. Helens and Columbia County? Could this possibly help that? I mean, if this is front and center,
low-hanging fruit. is what
Right,
I see, is
exactly.
You guys have already almost pretty much written it just in this talk right now.
But this is the deepest, most central thing that any organization holds. You hold your mission. You work in service to your mission. Your mission is your boss. Right? So let's keep going and kind of talk through some process. But first, I wanted to look really quickly at who we serve. Right now, I mean, these are all stats are only as good as, the day they were printed. But this is how we're portrayed. This is our Oregon Prospector community profile. Population numbers, our age distribution. Some of these are pretty interesting, right? Our highest, well, let's see, did they break this out at all? We have an educated workforce, right? We have a largest number of folks with the high school, but also the college degrees, the graduate degrees. This is changing. Well, the rise of higher ed that is happening in South County will undoubtedly impact us, right? And access. So that's your associate and certificate programs. And that'll have a really, an impact very close to home. The bachelor's degree or higher, several within 50 miles. But this is when folks are shopping for us, when out-of-state companies are looking to site here, this is where they are directed by Business Oregon. So this is our face right now. It goes through the talent, our labor force, 6,000, and what folks do. I'm sorry, I can't get this show more at once. And of course, this is St. Helens Incorporated city limits, our 5.86 square miles. Dalles, there is some production, and also our very large school district and growing population. This, I kind of like that we've got different years here, total employees. And I know that we all saw that stat of our negative job growth. But if you look even in the past 4 years that data's available, we've had some negative job growth. And we know this, we've lived this. We can name the names of where that.
Not a secret.
Nope.
One of the problems we have, we're just part of the state that has a very high-tech requirement that it can't fill. So we have a whole lot of people moving into the state because we can't supply the technical people we need, whether they're machinists or electrical engineers or anything else. And the companies that bring these people in are paying real well, so that really skews who can afford a home. So we have a peculiar, let's say, financial stage. And St. Helens is okay for a high school, but we should be leading in a lot of things if we want people to come here.
Yeah.
Right now, we have, according to Stockwell, probably the best machine shop in the state, which is terrible. It says the other people are even worse. There's a whole lot of things that we're really backgrounded against about the outside world because our industry, regional industry, is so high-tech and we're not.
Yeah.
We don't seem to be striving to get to high-tech.
Well, yes, and this looks at, our incorporated area. This does not, we're not looking at Metro, we're not looking up into Washington County with the Intels and the.
I would like to be better than they are so they come here.
I would like to stay in our lane. Some of this is out of our lane because, the state actually created this. The state created all what you're talking about, Steve.
Right.
Not the city of St. Helens.
Right, and I think if we look at what's here currently, right, we've got this healthcare and social service, and we know this to be true. We feel this. We've got, a social service entity is one of our largest employers right now. Right? We know this to be true. the retail bit. And then, you know, we are sitting here in physical spitting distance of our county seat. This is a true story.
Have you ever tried to spit at it?
Just kidding.
We can do that on the
Only-
break
only
if
at
you
night.
like.
If you're
Only at
watching
night,
at
Rick.
home, I had to make it, you gotta keep it funny sometimes.
We can try it on the break. But, hey, but here's another, I wanted to call everyone's attention to this, right? The care and feeding of our small businesses, right? Most of our businesses in town are 1 to 4 employees.
Yep.
Right? And we've only got this tiny, tiny sliver of 100-plussers. So it's important when we make decisions, policy decisions, right, to think about this distribution. And when we say business,
One of our problems
business
with,
means different things.
one of our problems with small businesses is a lot of them are owned by people outside the city. While the workers may be city citizens, it isn't a St. Helens in all forms business. There are some, but a lot of them are, and that hurts.
Yeah.
And historically, that has hurt.
Does the chamber have that data?
That has changed
I'd be
in the last
really
20 years.
interested to.
I'd be
I think
curious to know.
That's the
Yeah.
place we're living in, unfortunately.
How many local small businesses are like Topaz was saying,
Resident owned.
are resident owned
Is that the
versus
question?
outside? I think that would be good to know.
It has, because it's last 15 years, it's changed drastically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has it on all the business license, if you wanna review them all. It does.
And then this, we know this to be true, we feel this, that our median household income is less than county, state, and nation.
Yep.
And it's pretty evenly distributed, you know, amongst folks, you know, we don't, this distribution down here is surprising to me that it is pretty even. That was my takeaway, which, you know, I'm glad that this bar doesn't match the 100K, right? I'm glad that, I mean, yeah. Things that I noticed. And this is another thing that we feel all the time. We've got the housing needs analysis was an amazing undertaking. And to know the folks that are rent burdened and to be one of the first in the state to do a full housing needs analysis, I think serves us well in that policy role. And that's what I spend money on,
Does
right?
that healthcare include premium?
I would imagine so.
I would imagine I can find out for you. And utilities.
Let's talk about healthcare a little bit. We need a hospital here because the whole area is gonna grow. But the way the letter of need is written up, until it grows, you can't put a hospital in. And one of the weird things is the school system was alerted yesterday about this Chinese flu. Red flags are already going up by the CDC to major operations.
Coronavirus.
And how do we, as a community, think about handling that before we have a problem, hopefully never having the problem? We're gonna have to interact with other people when it hits.
Well, when we think about marketing ourselves to big business, do we also think about marketing ourselves to the healthcare industry
Yes.
and that sector? Because it is a sector, and they come with a lot of money and a lot of philanthropy money. I mean, is that another audience that we need to be deliberately marketing?
And then there are people who come in to be treated, and their families have to have a place to stay and meals to be served. Plus, it's fairly people intense, so they have a lot of employees per product, if you would.
This is true.
My understanding was that a lot of the bigger hospitals are what fought our hospital even being here because they knew what business they would be losing from, you know, a little tiny hospital being here.
I can't wait to see the next census, the next, you know, like underway. Please, everyone support the census.
So you're
take
talking
it,
Good
all
Sam,
that.
you're talking OSHU, you're talking Providence.
Kaiser.
Yep.
Keith was talking about politics and medicine. You got it, baby. I mean, not only within the institution, but around,
Can you
very
go
much
back
so.
up? I missed that last section. I was
Oh, yeah,
reading.
sure.
Bye.
The taxes or
Yeah,
the transportation? Taxes.
Back to,
I don't quite know how to read this.
Matt, can you help her out? She doesn't
Yeah.
know how to read it.
Money people. So is this the,
It's just the state rate, I think.
yeah, okay, the state personal income tax, okay, got it.
Okay, it was just numbers going by, and I didn't see what the headlines were, because the headlines are small and blue.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sorry, I can't get better.
back
That's
to
okay,
taxes
just went
and
too fast for me to
industry.
focus.
TriMet has an area, and they really hit the small industry with a big hit. We're outside that area, so a lot of small industry can be relatively close, but outside some of the regional tax structure.
And being outside of Metro, hang on to that if we do a SWAT here, because not being part of the Metro and not having that additional layer of government, right? I mean, we're not gonna benefit from the huge bonding package that they just passed, but in a lot of ways, kinda nice not to be part of that. Saying that on the record. I, Rachel Barry, not elected by anyone. All right, and then I just wanted to, this is the 5-year roll-up, so this is kind of another look at our demographics, the American Community Survey, and this, of course, will be updated with the 2020 numbers. It has our population and median income a bit lower, but there are some interesting bits in here that I wanted to just call out. The veteran population, we know that we've got a disproportionately high.
Because the cost of living is low.
Disproportionately high number of veterans, yes. And it's across our county, but in the city limits as well. I mean, we're more than the US. And that's the thing, and I know it's constantly a struggle to capture those veteran service dollars and have them come here. And Russ Clark, our veteran service officer, is not continually funded or funded at full time. So just
He's more now than he was.
I
And
know.
we're catching up now, so we're doing way better, yeah.
well, good, but I know it's always a struggle, and I'm
Yeah,
so
it is
grateful.
still a struggle, but we're doing better than we were a few years ago, yeah.
That you serve over there and can make that a priority, because it is that, you know.
That's what we need is a veterans hospital here. And talk about politics, boy,
And then I did want to just do a little spotlight on the health. When we think about the folks that we serve and how we craft public systems and public policy, this was pretty stunning. This was something that,
That's my life in a nutshell. That's why I always, when people like talk about disabilities, it's like, you realize how many people out there, and that's why instead of talking about a disability, talking about a fully accessible community. Because people have barriers of all kinds, we should be delineating them, we should be just making sure whatever we do, that any resident can reach it.
and this, thank you.
Yeah, any resident, you know, I mean, because people always think that St. Helens is not diverse, but it is diverse in the fact that we have veterans live here, we're welcome to people with disabilities, all kinds of walks of life. They might not be all colors of the rainbow, but they're definitely all kinds of people.
we have in some ways more differences that people hide. If you go to the library, there'll be some people come in look like they're warmed over and they should be under a tent out in the street, and they're surprisingly educated and they're needing extra books, but they don't kind of come across that they're more than civilized and a few other things. So looking at the people up and down the street, I mean, they're camouflaged quite well.
Trying to blend in.
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yep, well, and we're gonna break it.
We're going quick,
3 minutes, but,
keep it moving.
yep, we'll do.
Taking,
No, she said we're gonna break. I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah. We're, well, and we can
I'm
break.
waiting for the bathroom, so.
Okay, and we can break whenever we want. All right, I just wanted to go through the demographics. Some of that was really striking to me, and that's whenever we're talking about our service, it's really important to think about who is there.
So on your back, on your last one, it
Yeah.
said carpooling, right?
Yes.
Nobody.
Hardly anybody. And our only other option is CC Rider. And what I find shocking, and I learned this from Todd, the director over there, is that the people that work here in Columbia County, 700, it's roughly about $1 million, and 700 of that, $1 million in tax revenue that's collected from the state, 700 of that's going to Metro, and it's 300 going to CC Ryder, when really that should be flipped around, that dollar amount. And I know Senator Johnson was notified, but of course, she's got a lot on her plate, but that is just backwards. The people that work here are paying that tax. That should be coming to CC Ryder. And that's really part of their deficit. That ain't right.
Yeah, rural communities get
Yeah.
penalized.
Yeah.
Well, and this was that, 2017, the transportation package, it was how that transit tax, because it's 1/10 of 1%,
Uh-huh.
but it goes to the place where the employer is located. So all of those commuters on CC Ryder, it stays with the place of the employer. And in this case, that agency is TriMet.
Mhm.
When they are, it
Oh,
doesn't go with the person.
But it's
it goes
really
with the
where they
employer.
live, where
Right.
they're the ones paying it,
Right, it was with,
not the employer. It's the employee.
yeah, it didn't stay with the person, it went with the
Yeah.
employer.
So I just want to come back to that and noticing that nobody carpools, well, actually,
It's good.
Pretty good.
It used to be
Yeah, not
higher,
bad.
it used to be higher, it used to be in the 90s. but-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, driving alone is, used to be a lot higher.
Well, and kids are moving towards public transit. They just are. They don't want to get their driver's license right at 16.
Insurance is expensive.
It is, yeah.
It's another burden when you're strapped for cash to pay
Yeah.
the rent. You can't afford.
Pretty bad when you have to wait
insurance.
till you're 25 to get your license because of insurance,
Yeah, it's bad.
especially being a mill. I mean, you want to talk about being, I'm surprised they haven't got a lawsuit yet. I don't care if they want to, that's gender discrimination. That's exactly what it is.
Especially when you see some of the young ladies driving down the freeway.
Well, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm just gonna say, I think that's kinda,
I just miss having time to read. I love my public transit
It
community.
is organized crime.
And this is a good point to break. Let us break on this and we will come back and address this. Or you will address this. I
Okay.
cannot address that.
I'm assuming it's somebody else's job to take care of those, who gets in accidents and who doesn't. There's gotta be a committee on that, I'm sure.
I'm sure there is.
Actuarialist.
Yeah, and let's go, is 10
Deep
minutes
in
good or do we want 15?
Let's just reuse this box for our garbage, okay? Matt, you already
They're
did
going green on us?
No, the garbage can's so little.
Everyone, hang on. Please, everybody, please do be aware that the recording is going to continue through the break. Just be mindful that we are on the public record.
If you want a private conversation, go outside.
I'm going to go spit on the county's buildings if you would like to come with me.
That is on the record.
It is, it is.
There we go. There goes that meeting down the tube.
All that goodwill.
That's part of my job.
Years of efforts and work. Rachel blows it
Puts
in
one meeting
sentence.
together and 2 weeks later blows it all
Blows
apart.
it all away.
The other thing we seem to forget is how connected we are with everybody. And right now, I was at a meeting in Salt Lake, and they were talking about because of the viral outbreak in China, how many ships are anchored offshore because they can't come on shore. So there's a huge amount of material that's been produced that can't be used because we don't have the methodology to inspect it fast enough. And so what happens in a little town in China affects not only the US, but downtown Portland, St. Helens, and everything else in between.
Casts ripples far and wide.
Yeah.
Stock market, all of it, yeah.
So does that spread differently than like the flu?
Seems to be much more contagious.
What do you think? I thought maybe it was less contagious. I mean, because,
Well, that's what it looked like, but evidently the Chinese weren't quite open. The other comment that should be put to bed was, what can one person do? There was one doctor who tried to stop him. They put him in jail. Now he's dead, but, and of course, a lot of Asia, and even Europe, a couple dollars will get you through customs with anything. Well, so a lot of people moved through, and
oh, yeah.
countries are now paying for it.
Whose is this?
Well, there was, what, probably a week that nobody even knew about it? People were contagious?
Well, the other thing, it seems like this has a different
I'm guessing.
profile as far as time.
How much sugar's in that?
Not very much. Well, 90 calories, but it has a few grams. Much. It's real sugar, it's not chemicals.
Everything's got chemicals in it. I just found out that in Salem, a mile from where I live, used to be an old orchard there. It's a pretty good-sized hill. Houses across the road now, and industrial areas right above the airport. Anyway, it's a brownfield because of the orchard. All those years of pesticides.
Pesticides, ET, and, yeah.
Grass cutting's a toxic waste.
Grass cutting's a toxic waste.
They put a weed killer on it, don't you?
Well, they did
Yeah,
on
you
the.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the orchards and around the trees and things. Close at the base.
I got one of those little thingies that you poke in the ground and twist the weed to pull them out. And then I just spot spray. I don't like spraying the whole thing.
I have a better way of doing it. Asphalt the whole
Say,
thing.
Yeah,
Just
asphalt.
cement the whole thing in and.
Actually, I was at a new apartment complex the other day, and they had this neat little fenced area with grass in it and whatnot. I go, wow, that's neat. I went over there. It's fake grass.
Sounds a bit, yeah,
Looks
super
just
popular.
like new.
A lot of new houses are doing.
I looked at that in my old house.
Artificial turf.
Yeah.
It was pretty expensive.
And I wonder why the bees are going, you know, here's this big
Yeah.
funnel. Oh, look, here's some grass, Harry. Whop, you know. It rolls over dead with a piece of polyvinyl sticking out of them. Well, the other thing that,
The birds and the bees are both going away.
same reason, you landed on the grass and skidded. The other thing that, in the way of fire departments, all the happy chemicals in your hardware store, especially if they get a fire in the
Oh, yeah.
lawn section, downwind. There's a place in Florida, I had a hard time because downwind was the old people's home. So there's like 2 firemen fighting a fire and there's 18 trying to get the people out of the smoke path.
Oh, yeah, I bet, yeah. Poison fog.
We're also picking up the attitude that everything's okay. If it isn't okay, you gotta stop it. We've given up, you know, there are a couple things happening, they're all bad, which is the least problem? We gotta handle the hard problem, and right now we're gonna just have to live with the least problem. We've got 3 lawsuits that you didn't take care of this other problem, like, all problems have the same level of intensity. That keeps the courts busy, but definitely doesn't solve the major problems of cities and all.
Saturday.
Like the election, worst of all evils.
Well, that's what people are talking about. And somebody says, what happens if the biggest ballot getter is none of the above?
I need to sign off.
Those copies don't.
All right. All right, I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, yeah, and look for an update forthcoming, all details. Bye. Oh, man, time, everyone knows, we're on the record.
Can tell because it's quiet.
I know. It's funny though. I'm glad Lisa gave that stuff though. 'Cause that would be a surprise.
Oh, I have no idea. I've not seen. Sometimes I am the last to know. Even. I usually say how much money we have. Both, right? Is that road in the STP?
Got it.
So that means we can't use SGC funds. That's all part of master plans. The reason you have a master plan so you can spend SDC money.
I wonder if we changed that.
We can, yeah.
No, I mean, we may have.
Oh, if you made, yeah.
I mean, I hope. You would have thought, because we changed the zoning, that's been.
Hang on, I'm doing this on purpose.
It's more,
When you get elected, that the fish were gonna write you a thank you letter.
right?
Need some help over there, Rachel?
Technical assistance. Hey, here we go. All right. Are we ready? Are we present?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to lead us off and just share a little bit?
Go ahead. Somebody else go ahead. I'm making my comment.
Okay. So in your time as a counselor, what would you like to accomplish? Or feel that you have accomplished, greatest accomplishments? You know, some of those in the room?
Start off with Keith. He's been here how many years now, Keith?
Forever.
19.
I can think of amazing accomplishments, but
It's kind of a legacy question. What's your legacy to be?
I mean, I kind of started in Great Cliffs Park and got it going and whatnot. Proud of that. Proud of keeping the 13 nights going, so it continued. And Sand Island took care of that for several years, so. It's always good to go to Sand Island because you can't get phone calls and all that other good stuff.
What about in your, I assume your last term here?
I want to make sure that the projects that we've been working on and are continuing to work on are further down the road. That's what I hope to get done in the next 10 months. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, in context with what you were saying about the things that we have started and initiated, I would like to see those make certain that they are sustainable and that they go on. And so that's one of the things. I think the big issue is, for me, is to try to instill a trust in our city government for our citizens. I think for me, that would be the biggest kind of issue and concern that I have, that I continue to try and work on. But to trust our government.
Jeannie?
The big question we should have had in advance. I mean, it goes back to why we sit here. It's like, I felt like a significant group of our citizens were left out of the process. It shouldn't be that hard to be part of your government and try to bring more people to the table. You know, if you're a single mom, or if you have disability, or whether you own your own business or you own your own corporation, you're still part of our community. And just moving our city to a more inclusive place where everybody has voice. And it shouldn't matter, you know, some of us here have always heard, well, if you're connected, if you're born here, you can do whatever you want. And it's like, no, if you're a citizen, you're a citizen, and everybody's equal. And it's just to further that prospect that anybody can come in here and ask this council, anybody can walk into the front counter, and we're all the same. Everybody gets the same awesome service. Everybody plays by the same rules. That's all.
Councilor Topaz?
Well, we started out with city service way back when, between the Maritime, helping ram that through and getting Shedco started. Shedco operation followed a number of other operations which seemed to last about 5 years and die kind of the same way. And they start off with one direction and one amount of cooperation, and all of a sudden there seems to be a war. And the city doesn't come out real well at working with other people who start accomplishing things. It just gets nitpicked a little bit here, this little department, that little department. So we don't have a long-term cohesiveness as far as direction and effort. Now, one of the things I would like to do is establish that our waterfront starts all the way in Gray Cliffs and ends up all the way at the Scappoose Kayak Landing, not 100 yards here and 100 yards there. It's a very piece of ground, but it's still the waterfront. We don't really appreciate the waterfront, what that word means. That means commercial, that means entertainment, that means connection, that means fishing, that means just looking at it. We say that, and we have groups want to stake out, this is the only thing you can do. We've somehow got to overcome that localization of what I want and nobody else can have, and not realizing the people next to me are different and it's okay. We haven't come to that point. That's, I would say, and that's going to bring in industry, it's going to bring in tourists, it's going to bring in conventioneers. It brings in a whole lot of things, but it's under one word, and we haven't really got to appreciate how some things have a huge variety with only one easy description. So I'm very much trying to get this city, or would like to get this city, connected to the river in all the ways that you connect to a river.
So that has been our vision, to go all the way to Scappoose Bay.
So-
In fact,
Yeah, I know. Here it is, but the community know.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and that's the other problem. What we have as a fundamental framework doesn't seem to have gone over to the
We
citizens of
don't
the city.
advertise it enough, yes.
Or whatever. I mean, that seems to be the problem.
Right.
So, my would be to bring a cohesive bunch of people, of individuals to get this city moving forward. It seems very difficult, cumbersome. It's not about an individual project that I wish to accomplish. That is self-serving, in my opinion. That maybe I could gain the trust, more trust of the elected officials that I'm sitting around, that my heart's in the right place, and that I've been here 3 years, and it's time to actually let some new blood start doing, and some new ideas. Not just new ideas, but there's also more than one way to skin a cat, like Councilor Topaz said. Sometimes we're both right, and allow and get the city to the staff also to be cohesive with the council, because I've already spoken on that once on an example, and it's an uphill battle. I feel very small in a very large government entity, one voice of many, and I know that's the will of the people out there. I constantly am talking to our citizens, because we all serve the same people, and they would love everything that we talk about. They would love to be able to have more, I think, more input, and we all take offense to it because it might affect our department or our commission or whatever, and that's not what it's about. It's about constructive criticism and trying to move forward. So that's the biggest accomplishment I wish to accomplish, and I have been trying. I came in here very, very patient, you guys. I did, and I gotta just say this, just because this is a place to do it. And did not stir any waves, and I'm not self-serving. Tell me one project where I am. One, I'm not. And that I know it is a we deal. Matter of fact, I was informed of that when I first came into council. I don't know if you were. But I'm one of 4 votes. That a lot of pressure does fall on a mayor, because people seem to think that we are a city manager, mayor form of government, and we're not. There's only 2 council styles like this in Oregon, and that is Portland and St. Helens. And I find it very difficult. So that's my biggest accomplishment. And when am I going to be able to finally gain trust of people and I mean, we're not just about parks. We're not. We got a lot of parks. We can't fund them. Can't fund any more parks. Can't. We want to expand the waterfront, which is I see 3 parks. I'll throw that out there. I see underutilized urban renewal that could be moving forward faster through timber cut and interfund loans to start moving it forward. The way that works economically, we got our financial director here, but once something is built, we get 100% of that tax for up to 23 years right now. We adopted it 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So there's a lot of accomplishments I'd like to do, and it's not a me, it's a we.
You know, Rick, you said something about parks. I like all the parks we can get, provided when we need that park space for something else, we give up the park. Right now, if we put it in a park, for some reason, forever, it can't be changed. That's one of the attitudes we've got to use. A park is a great place to save land, provided you use it when you need it. We have a group, if it's a park, forever you can't touch it. And that's the problem.
The bottom line is, you know, we all want to make friends, but this is a business meeting. And I read that, and I'm going to start reading those 12 principles that we had in our council training that George Dunkel gave to us. These are business meetings. I got to be here fully conducting and using the most of this time, not trying to campaign, not trying to push my own commission or my own agenda, to move this city forward in the most efficient and most productive and most impactful way I can. That's what I wish to accomplish. My other one is a sense of community, and I definitely do bring that. I will be out there. I stop in and ask businesses how it's going. I have brought, and it's a we deal. That's what's frustrating about this question is, Citizens Day in the Park doesn't happen without a we. Cruising the Gut didn't happen without the Highway 30 cruisers finally taking it over, meeting another individual, and it was a lot of work, and a lot of businesses step up. Businesses are ready. They're ready to get involved. They love good ideas, great ideas. I think, waterfront, short term, waterfront, why can't we get some dirt? Why can't we start putting some grass seed down? Don't hold me.
We're getting there.
Don't hold me
You just
back.
gave me a great segue, and then you kept going. So you really have given me a really good opportunity. Okay.
Okay.
But I hear you.
Yes.
I hear you. And hold those. Break dinner. All right, we've kind of been through this. This is where you gave me the segue to. Leadership is a foul weather job. This is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. And here's one of my favorites from the good Senator Johnson. Sometimes leadership means driving a bunch of people somewhere that you may not necessarily want to go. And it is. You need to, this is what I've heard resonate in this room, service, right? Getting that community input. Where are we going? And it might not be your personal, I would like to go to a sunny beach somewhere, right? Or whatever it may be. But it's, we all want to move in this direction. If we're gonna do visioning, if we're gonna invite all of the participation, it is yours to lead. And here we can talk about some areas for collective improvement. And this, we're gonna be launching into goals here, kind of the more cut and dry. And I will actually pass these around right now. This is more of the feel and how you function as a group and how we are getting to implementation, right? We need a really strong team. Because there are some big lifts. Thanks to some great leadership and thanks to really prudent, financial strategy, we've got amazing opportunities here. So here, if you could give me like a word or three of what are your in your view, the areas for improvement collectively for your governance group? Anybody?
Well, I mean, the mayor's talked about, I don't know how many years, about having, what do you call them? Fireside chats or open houses or whatever to tell the community what we're working on and be open for input. And you've talked about that since you got elected the first time. And we've yet to have a single one. So that's again, one of those things we talked about that never comes to fruition. You know, we talked about SDAT and how good SDAT was and how good the other planning process is and how good that is when we continue that dialogue. In order to get the community to buy the waterfront, we have to keep talking to them about the waterfront and what all we're doing. So I mean, that's the thing is like when we go quiet, people's minds are left to wander. So what are they doing?
You get that.
But if we're out there all the time and that mission is constantly in front of people and the vision is constantly in front of people, the pressure is on all of us to perform the next task on the list. But if we sit quiet, it's really easy to hold the line with the past.
Thank you.
So when I first came on the council, correct me if I'm wrong, the only outlet we had to our citizens was if they showed up in council, one, and the newspaper reporters. And that was about it. And since then, I know one of the first things we did was we started to establish a newsletter to our community. So pretty much maybe the second year that I had come on. And that turned into the Gazette. And then, of course, then we hired our community, our communications director, and she's been marvelous. But in many senses, we trust the staff to be the sounding board for the council, and I think they do a pretty effective job. Our job is to get out in the community, like the mayor feels is a very strong kind of aspect of going and talking to as many people as we possibly can. And we initiate that. Extend our hand like, I'm your city councilman. Is there anything I can do to help you? And personally have gone around to small businesses on Main Street and I do that as much as I possibly can. Anytime I go into a business, how's the city treating you? Is there anything else? Is there anything that we can do? So I like the mayor's stance on that, of doing it individually. And I also think that we can encourage our staff in communications to continue to reach out to people, our community.
So your question was ineffective? What was it?
What areas
it's up
for
there?
improvement collectively, and just a couple of words of like what, thinking back to earlier, maybe it's like reduce tension, maybe it's more open
For me,
communication.
collectively, is when we've made a decision to call it out and put a timeline on it.
Yeah.
Rick's talked about this for 3 years.
Well, I still
You
got,
talked about it, you're like, we want accountable goals, we want.
I've
we
got
talked about
Gresham
having-
City goals. I'll bring
Yeah.
them down here and show you guys. It gives ownership to projects and timelines, long-term, short-term,
And this was 3
medium-term.
years ago.
I know, and
I know.
I've showed them to,
But even when we're just
And-
having regular meetings and we say, it shouldn't take a year to get doors on a bathroom. It shouldn't take 2 years to get a bench in a park. Those kind of things, when a council directive is there,
Yeah.
that are simple and cut and dry like that, it should be, when can I expect to see this? I shouldn't have to keep pestering people about something that's that
we
easy.
joked about the industrial sign for how long?
It happened, I asked for it before you were elected the first time. Yeah, I mean, it's just little things like that it's like, I think when we can't, personally, just being totally honest, when we can't hit the low-hanging fruit, we just gotta get better about getting those easy
Yeah.
ones.
If it's about not having the staff, we need to serve our citizens better. That's what I gotta say. We need to find a way to find that money. Wherever the cuts need to come, because I think there's other areas of improvement that have to deal with I know we need to save money, and it's all about saving money, but I'm telling you right now that, minus these two right here, and you guys can look at them, but minus these two right here, we need to be able to serve our citizens a lot better than what we have been. And I hear it out there.
Just the
I don't know.
accountability. I don't know how you get
This
there.
is us, minus those two, us, that's what we're here for. We need to, I hear building officials overworked. I hear there could be some room for improvement in planning as far as expediting. People say they'll even pay more for their building permits if they can get them in 3 weeks and not 3 months. They said they'll even pay more. Respectable builders said, we will pay more. If
Time
you
cost
guys-
of money is bad
if
news.
you will give me a set date, these are things that we really need to dig in hard on.
I've talked about bringing in an efficiency expert to go through the departments
I
and,
think we should make it a point to maybe start doing, and it could be on the city dime, taking staff out to lunch in our community and start listening to those type of conversations out there, just so they actually know it's not a bunch of BS. That this is really, really happening, and it's not just one or two individual that speak very loudly. It's not.
I don't think staff is doubting us, I don't think.
Hey, well,
No, it does, yeah, and we
It's
actually.
just a matter of manpower.
I'm just saying,
We just don't have the manpower.
I find that hard to believe
don't
when the
think so.
economy's better than it ever has been, and in '07, we were staffed. And that's, I know there was the fall, but we had 3 building officials, 3.
Right.
We got 1, okay? We got 1. That's your department, and I'm not coming
So,
up yet.
I know, but-
No, wait a minute, we get a lot of police officers,
Right.
all right?
Well, we're still down,
Okay.
down there across the
Well-
whole board.
So, building brings jobs and living wage jobs to our community. Okay? They do. It just does. And when builders are shying away from, and we could say they're not, but they really are, we could be a lot busier than what we are.
That's the reason we have a
We
new,
have to get down to this brass tack
Well,
stuff,
and we're
Rachel.
gonna get there, no, and here, this is really important, and I want you to hold it because you.
You asked
it
for
is-
areas of improvement, I'm
Well,
giving you them.
it's your role to set the direction. And if setting the direction is, like an increased efficiency or let's just keep going a little bit and we're gonna look at it through the lens of goals.
For me, I have a hard time just throwing money at things
Right.
without a plan.
Right.
Well,
Because just putting 6 bodies upstairs doesn't necessarily make the process better.
well, I got a timeout on that because then what is the answer?
Nobody's even looked.
What do you mean nobody's looked? I hope, John, Mr. Walsh, you're doing your job because I think those guys are pretty busy. Every time I see them, got their nose in a plan or they're out inspecting something,
It's really busy. Yep.
okay?
But
So
during-
what
but-
I've witnessed around here, and that's why I called Mr. Walsh out,
I mean, I have a viewpoint.
yes, and I get that, but you said just throw more money at it. If-
No, I'm saying that's not necessarily the answer to just throw money at stuff without a plan.
So is an area for improvement maybe a different perspective on planning or more coherent planning?
Right, because what I hear from this body is we need to be more efficient, we need to be more business friendly, but what does that mean?
Right.
So if you don't give quantitative instructions to people,
Can I just say that every time this subject comes up about the building department, that you seem to go this direction, that you take offense to it, and I apologize that you do. But
I'm not.
every time I have this conversation, and Keith brought it up the last time, not me, that you took offense to it, that I was after the planning commission and the review people, and that is not the case. I am hearing this from a
I'm
lot
not
of builders
taking
out
offense.
there, okay? But every time this is your response, and it has been for this way for the last year and a half, I've been talking
I'm
about.
telling you that I'm not taking offense. I
Okay.
acknowledge that there's issues. I'm saying that feedback that I hear in the community is, it's like, so what, they want clearer expectations. We're doing our job. People, you're saying yourself, everybody's busy. So how, do you want them to change the process? Do we want more people? Should they do it a different way? Should they send stuff out? You know, it's like they want details of what the council is expecting because everybody's working very hard. We're not saying that people aren't working hard. That's what I'm saying is instead of just do it faster, better, how? Because they are doing their job.
That's exactly what I said, and I said, we need to hire more people. And you said, wait a minute, before we throw more money at it.
I think there's two different ideas here. But
Maybe I'm not hearing it.
well, so I think what,
'Cause-
I think we understand what you're saying is more bodies, you're gonna be able to get stuff out faster and everything. I think what Ginny is trying to say, if I could paraphrase, is that instead of hiring 3 more bodies, we need to really look at our internal processes, how we do things, and
So
is
they have
there
the right bodies.
is there a more efficient way to do things? And it may be that we don't hire somebody, but maybe it's we do things this way. And it doesn't mean that we need to hire somebody, but maybe we're spending money doing something else
Right,
different.
maybe we need to hire one person and we need to
Looking
send
at the
certain things
process.
out, get a second source.
Let's look at the buildings departments. It's not working. And if you started Heidi, you realize that the
You
tools
can't
that
just
she
say that,
has.
Steve, because I can't say it, you can't.
Well, yeah, but take a look at her. She has a job of handling paperwork, and she's in a cupboard. She needs facilities to lay stuff out and be able to handle
It's
things
overwhelming.
quickly. And she literally does not have the tools to do her job well. So she could probably do 3 times what she's doing if she had a better tool.
Well, and if I may, you will have the opportunity to set this as a priority. That is your role as the governing body.
When,
I'm looking for right here is we would like to set strategic goals, or we need to fully
Okay, but just on that issue
Yes.
before we move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
We
Well, I'm
spent
not-
with several hours today with everybody coming together.
Yes, we
talking-
did.
Talking about the process, talking about what sucks your time, what makes you less efficient. And I think we have some process improvements that are gonna be something to talk about.
and communication points, because I also feel that.
The one hire could definitely be justified. We could actually bounce another building official, not an inspector under Michael, and bounce them to Columbia City. We could, because we do all their stuff, but we are outsourcing stuff to the county and to Scappoose right now as we speak, because we are that far behind.
can I finish what I was saying? I'm using the example as Heidi. She literally does not have the tools to handle the type of paper, and in some cases illegally storing paper according to state standards. Now we move a few feet away from her to where the building guy is in his office. He's not particularly well equipped to handle that either. How much can we improve our workers' ability to get the job done if we had a better facility? Now, some of that says this building's got to go. Or, I mean, so we've almost got to look at our whole process and see, is it the process in trouble? Is it, we got a lousy person? We know that the load is going up. What do we have to think about in the next 10 years? When are we going to have to hire somebody? When are we going to get a new bench? When are we going to get a filing system? I mean, that's a design job that the staff has to do. But realize some of our stuff, the tools that our people have are antiquated, and we don't have the space to put them.
Yeah, wipe everything off that budget, it's all changing now.
And here, we're getting there, and I really want you to drive this. And I think we've been in this, we've been in a place of setting the goals without the rest of the structure, right? If you look at what's in front of you, the goal is the end point, right? And this only kind of partially works, right? Is that we process permits more efficiently? Is that the end point, or is it that continual improvement to keep our city growing? You know what I mean? And there's that disconnect in the end point. It's not an algorithm that we're running. It is a city that is constantly changing, and people are coming and going and moving. And I really want to start thinking down the road of, your process for defining direction, and then you put your resources under it, right? Here's your other building officials. So strategically, we would like to, keep our city growing. How do we do that? Oh, let's make our building department more effective. oh, how do we do that? Maybe we get the halftime building official. You see what does this make sense?
One of the things that we have to understand is the target's always gonna be moving, and we've always gotta be changing. And
Annually.
we've gotta figure out if we can second guess where we've gotta be in this changing target ahead of time.
Right.
But we have to understand things are gonna be changing. If we make believe they're not changing or going to change, we're dead.
And it's our approach, and it's the governance approach, and you all, as the leaders of this enterprise, setting that direction. That is what we're doing, right? And right now, and please, John, this is like, it's pretty academic. There are lots of different ways to look at strategic planning. Some have the big circle that all feeds, and then there are lots of different ways to look at it. But I feel like right now, we're strong on the strategic goals. And this, if you remember our conversation before dinner about mission, these are the things, so jump in. Let me stop talking. I'm gonna get some coffee. Go for it. How about it?
I don't know that there's too much to say here other than, we started in the middle. The goals are kind of the middle. We have a vision 2020 that hasn't been updated for a long time. It probably needs an update to know if we have, our vision is still true. I think it's not there. We just talked about the mission. Perhaps some streamlining there, and then the strategic goals and the categories of goals that we have currently have, and that's the level we would hope to talk about right here, recognizing that there's holes in the process in both directions. There's the administrative process is going down, and then the mission, vision, values kind of things. Some of that's pretty undefined.
Yes, and to undertake the full process is an investment. I mean, we think about the pace of government. We come out stronger from a full strategic planning process. If you want to pass around some of these examples, it's a lot of work. It can be done internally. It can be consulted. Not a word on the record.
One of the problems, at least with this, some of these are tools and some of these are product, if you would.
Yeah, and they were designed like that, yes. It was supposed to be more product, like Gresham's. but
Yeah, I mean,
It was
and you gotta do this and this to have that.
a hybrid.
Right. And it's as staff leadership to hear in the management team, how does my reducing crime by 5%, I can connect the dots of where that fits into mission and where it fits into goal, but how am I reporting to the council goal and to the enterprise-wide focus?
See, I don't care if you could reduce the crime 10% or whatever, as long as you enhance the community engagement and make it safer. Oh, to make it safer, you gotta reduce the crime. I mean, you can make a lot of PR about reducing the crime, but it's only a small part that needs 3 steps to get to. And somehow we gotta arrange the steps to get to this point in the right order.
John's got Gresham's over there.
No, this is actually.
I see Gresham's underneath though.
Gresham doesn't work
I
fine.
see it.
You know,
I recognize it. I've looked at
You know,
that a number of times.
These kinds of strategic action plans are, they have a lot of community involvement. It's a big, it's like the SDAT effort, but community-wide, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Certainly willing to take that on to do it, but it is it's a process, and we have.
That may be kind of part of the ask.
It's a lot like, you'll find that
Tonight
it's a lot like that.
Is that a process you guys want to take on, like John and Rachel mentioned? We can do this internally through these types of meetings and work on the outreach events and everything. But we need to know if you want to and if you're willing to go through that type of process where we bring in a consultant and we do that full range, community-wide engagement to the 9th degree.
I don't think, not to stop you and interrupt, Matt, but I don't think so. I think the people know the vision. People know that the waterfront's gonna happen. People want that waterfront to happen. People know about the lagoon. They don't know enough, but they know about it. I said there'll be more to know about. They still know about it. They haven't forgot about it.
Well,
They ask about, how's that project going? They know about the industrial property. I don't think we need to vision this anymore. They know that they entrust us and have had the outreach on that waterfront. You guys did a phenomenal job. Why would we wanna go back down that road again?
No, and I think
mean,
that's the communication part,
Yeah.
and I think that without, I'm not trying to speak for Rachel or John, but there's a lot of that framework that's already there.
Yes.
It's just really a matter of putting it together in some type of a form that you all can get behind as a council, and that can be pushed down to John and staff.
I think that's kicking the rock down the road. That's me.
Wait, well, I'm gonna disagree with the wording. You said, we wanna get behind it, push it down the road. No, we want the community to get down and push it down the road. Now, our problem is how do we get the community to be that engaged? Cause if we keep spoon feeding the community, this is what you gotta do to make it good, you're never gonna get it there. We've gotta somehow pass out the information in a way that the community says, let's get it done this way, even though that's the way we told them. But unless we get a hard push from them, which means they're gonna have to pay more money for this or that, less money for the other thing, get more industry in here. It's kinda how we get the job done, the perception on the street, how it's getting done. If they feel they've got it, part of it, and they're helping push it down the street, even though their job is only yelling at city council, good. If they have the feeling that city council is telling them what's gonna happen, it won't work.
And if I may, Counselor Topaz, I think that strategic planning can be done internally. I think we've got the capabilities and the practice and all of that type of thing. And I think it hits a couple of the points that I've heard tonight. The community engagement, the open and improved communication. I think it hits that two-way street and the community volunteerism. I think it really focuses and can engage what makes our city great, what we know to be true. How do we get our neighbors to be a part of this? How are we pulling in the same direction? It will take some work on all of our parts. But it does not have to be the $100,000 very well consulted process. It certainly can be. And I think it gives us a framework. We want things to go.
You know, Rachel, when I went to the League of Oregon Cities in Eugene, there
Yeah.
was a keynote speaker there who spoke on just doing stuff in your community. Just do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. I forget what his name was. John, what was his name?
I don't remember his name.
That guy was
But-
Give me
great.
his name.
There's no reason. He goes, there's no reason you can't pick a project and just go ahead and do it.
And
Who's gonna stop you?
well, and let's
Who? He said, we did it. We proved them wrong. They said we couldn't do it.
and
We
connect
just did it.
to the mission. If it connects to the mission, all is possible. And if folks know your mission, all is possible.
So give me some dirt and we'll start sowing some seed down there.
All right.
We need about that much over everything.
Speaking of dirt, let's do it. So what's gonna happen, and I think that Matt is gonna keep us honest, we are going to go through this. We're gonna review last year's goals. We are going to remove the items that have been accomplished, clarify the remaining ones, add new ones, and assign.
So getting back to that last go-around and making our own, whatever, plan.
That's
Yeah.
This is exactly why we need to define all of our projects and determine exactly the pros and cons of each project and then prioritize them. Because those are the things, think about them, that fall in line. This may all sound good, but it may be counterintuitive to this over here or whatever the
We
case.
do have that though. Remember Jacob and Jenny gave us a presentation on those projects?
Yes.
We're also,
On those, I think he's talking citywide
I'm
and
talking
council-wide.
citywide.
What projects you guys have
Yeah.
on your list, putting that entire list
Yeah.
together.
and now my secret will be out because one of my really encouraged and suggested next steps is to do the meeting where we bring everything on the table and we go through the big list and we prioritize it and we start to put the resources under it and build it strategically. Soon.
Right. So we do need to know the pros and cons of the list.
And the price tag.
And the price tag, exactly.
That's
Well,
a con.
That would either be, that's probably a con, right?
So I guess to start then, we'll go through this is what we have currently as far as goals, projects. So,
Yes, and at the top, you'll see, they'll all sound very familiar to you. They're yours from last year. And then coming out of the state of the city, we have some of these kind of citywide, broad stroke items. So please, look at that top section for each. I've got it up on the big board, and we'll continue work through. I feel like a lot of these have been achieved, right? And
Yeah,
some-
we have moved, we have moved forward, there's no
Yep.
doubt about it.
I'm gonna raise a question to that.
Please.
One of the problems, I just was in Salt Lake, and Salt Lake has expanded like you wouldn't believe, and everything looks like Dixie cups side by side. As I take a look at our developments up on the hill, I'm seeing a lot of housing look side by side, and it's gutted the spirit of Salt Lake. And there they got square miles of it. And that's where I would raise questions whether our planning board is looking at the spirit of some of these projects as compared to just the physics of it. Because right now, St. Helens is a hodgepodge of a lot of stuff, and it makes it St. Helens. That's our neatness, that we're not standard. And when you start standardizing it, we're no longer St. Helens.
Yeah, that character question.
I mean, it's easy to find your house when you come home late on a Saturday night.
We were talking about Levittown, how that's coming about. The other thing that has been brought up, and this is by city planners, when you have a lot of these projects, the content of the community goes down because there's no individualness in it. There's too much of the sameness. Now, that's a long-term thing. That doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years, but it does, it's not my place anymore. And some of the developments, you weren't allowed to change the color of your garage door. I mean, there were all kinds of ways to make rules but hurt. There were also rules or allowances to make it go the other way, so you gotta be careful there. But we gotta watch out that our boards don't become too much of a railroad. Everything's gotta be this way.
Well, and I would say, it's a thinking goal language. It would be something like preserve our history and culture and character, right? And from that comes, architectural design standards and that type of thing, right?
Okay, let's go to architectural design standards. We've got a group of people that have been here forever, and that's what they want. But most of them don't have the ability on that board to get to that point. But they do have the authority to do what they want to do. Sometimes our inability to bring in outside expertise and say, step back, people, 2 blocks from where you live and look again.
Yeah.
Now, we're not a big city, and if you haven't had people coming and going for 100 years, everybody's been here for 3 or 4 generations, you really don't have that variability of how you can go. And that's we're an awful new city in the way of the world. So some of the technology of how you go further, if you were in Athens, Greece, you've got 4,000 years, it's no big deal. But we're not really about 200 years old yet.
I would agree with you on some of the things, but we're just unique with this basalt the way it is. We are just unique in the way industrial.
That's why the animals are here.
Yes, I mean, we just got,
That's right.
got a uniqueness about us, it's just
And I was at a church.
solid as rock.
And just hearing like that, and I think that as we move forward, we are growing and changing, we have new neighbors, but to honor the history and to bring some of that with us, and the funkiness, and the crazy, when you look from this angle, it looks like a 1-story building, and then you look around and it's a 6-story thing that's like clung to the cliffside, there's a lot of that just makes us who we are.
Yep.
And how do we,
An earthquake, it won't
we
be
need to
standing.
find a way to capture these cultural items, and you pointed this out, it also came out of the regional meeting, it was like, some of these cultural things that we need to find a way to capture and either work to overcome, definitely talk about it, or, you know, encourage our unique identity. So keep that in mind as we start going through this, the cultural part. It's harder than, like, you know, implementing the Parks and Trails master plan. It's hard, it's.
Well, something that,
it's
like,
different.
we have this opportunity, if this hotel convention center comes, they could maybe decorate it in a cultural way.
Basalt?
Well, I mean, with the history and whatnot,
Yeah.
yeah,
And basalt.
and basalt, yes.
Okay, so we are on goal 2 now? Are we gonna
Yeah,
go
we
through
can, I
goal
see
1? I mean,
folks
we
have been,
kinda- we-
folks have been working
So
through this.
there's-
Matt, you wanna lead this part, could you?
Yeah, I can.
Good.
So on goal number 1, the first sheet, are there things, items on the list that you think the city has completed?
Yes, goal number, first bullet point and the third bullet point.
So expand the city administrator role, responsibilities, and then modify vacated department manager positions. Everyone kind of in agreement that we've accomplished that as a city in retrospect? There's always obviously ongoing discussions and things that happen.
I don't know if we've hit our responsibility part in number 1 or not, but.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. Just the, and I know it's hard, but the accountability part of some of it is, you know, sometimes, but for the most part, yes, we did all that. We achieved it.
Well, because expand the city administrator takes it away from the council. You only have so much authority. It's the balance between us and them. Part of that's communication.
A lot of it is.
Yeah, and
Almost all of it is
we're kind of, that's where our short story is actually. Our short story is really the communication, detailed communication on these projects.
And I think that's what the problem is that's part of the accountability.
So
is
maybe
maybe
with
checking
that,
in
maybe
on,
that's the add.
Yeah, maybe that's the
Take
addition
two away
change.
and add the improved
So and
communication.
I've circled responsibilities and,
Yeah, that's the adjustment.
yeah.
yep,
Better reporting. I feel like we as staff can do a way better job reporting on goals and activities. And
Just updates,
hoping
it's
that-
like, it'd be nice when something hits a snag, to know that it wasn't just parked and left. It's like, oh, this was back ordered, it's gonna take another 2 months.
Yeah.
We're still following up on it, or this will be installed next week, to know that it's actually happening.
I would personally like to see Matt take on a few more responsibilities as far as in some goals and being the go-to person to staff. So John's got sometimes so much on his plate that it's not that he doesn't want to inform us. He's got this coming at him in an email. This is what's on my plate right now. This is all I got him focused on.
Well, I think that's
I think
that's
that's
part of the struggle that we have right now is there's no place to go where we see these are the projects we're working on this year. You know, every department's kind of doing what they're doing, and then you guys kind of chime in on what kind of goes on, and we change a couple things along the way, but there's no definitive, this is the list, this is what we're working on this year, and this is what council wants us to move forward on.
Yeah.
and it serves
So
our
that's kind of
mission
what
clearly.
the start of this is.
So my thinking was, and I don't know about anybody else, was we're hoping that Bill Grant will apply for it again and we'll lobby it, but we need to start moving in a different direction. And that was in our meeting, we discussed this. And my feeling is if, because I had to go hire an engineer, I had to have everything drawn up, I had to have a contractor do the sewer, the water. Let's start doing that. Why are we waiting on staff when the person we're gonna hire has got an engineering degree or has experience in development, if it's a contractor? Let's start looking at that.
And here we've got the communication issue as well, and we're going to Independence on
Yes.
next Thursday. So the folks who are going to be there are Oregon Business Oregon rather, we're gonna have ODOT there, we're gonna have them talking to us about specifically how they funded it. I've met with our Business Oregon person, then myself and Jenny and John are meeting on Friday to talk about our infrastructure grant strategy. Because we understand that you want the Plan B, and you wanna know how we're gonna try and fund this thing. and if we're gonna leverage our urban renewal, and if we're gonna.
Couldn't we right
need something
now, first
coherent
first
for you.
step is parceling it off. Couldn't we right now actually hire, I hired Dave Reynolds. Why can't, we know where the street's gonna be, put it in, have him survey the street and the parcels. That's the first step. Why aren't we doing it?
The first step is to get council action to tell these guys that.
Absolutely, but these are ideas.
Yeah.
We don't get a chance to
understand
talk
that.
about it other than right here.
Yeah, well, you know, it says organization, we were talking about getting a director of facilities who will kind of get some of the stuff under his hat, and other parts of the city can go directly to John. And that's the,
Actually, that guy will be on the day-to-day operations, the way the job description reads, you guys. You're asking for, you're talking about a,
Public Works, whatever.
yeah, director, that's day-to-day operations. That's not drawn up in the development.
no, but it gets rid of some of the stuff that he has to take care of.
I don't know
It
what he
funnels
does.
it down.
Well, the roads are under Public Works, right?
The current roads are under public works. It is up to the developer to put in a road. Otherwise, the city should have put in my 20-foot street that barely fits up there. But I had to, considered a developer under 4 lots.
Engineer okays
Still not
it, and
happy
Public
about
Works takes care of it.
And
So, I gotta get
I'm
back to
assuming
you
the
so that
Public
we're
Works
on.
Director's gonna
Yeah.
determine where that should
No,
go and
no.
how it should go.
No,
I think we're
the developer.
getting a little bit too much into the weeds right now. That those project lists and those items will come up later on. They're definitely worth the discussion, but I think to get through here, it's already
We're
6.
still on one.
So,
Okay, so somewhere in there, I think we need to foster effective communication lanes between staff and council.
Yeah.
I think that needs to happen.
Yes.
You have that?
Yep, that's what he wrote down.
You have that
Yes,
down.
he wrote that
Got
down.
anything else anybody has to add or opinions about goal number 1 items?
Well, I was gonna say, the redo of the access and verify vacant department management, that may have, the management positions and what they do may have to be totally reorganized. Just because things have changed so much around.
Well, I might wanna go
Anything-
through and make the cuts of the project things, and then go back through an iteration.
I think we can always continue to, a lot of the stuff that you're looking at, the citywide staff goals, I think that is all still good stuff. I mean, I can never know it all, and I can always pick something up from a training. I always go into something thinking, what can I take from this?
Yeah, and the word goal kind of has a presumption that there's an endpoint. There's a close.
Sometimes it's ongoing.
Whereas a lot of these are every day.
That's
or
kind of what
ongoing
Counselor Topaz was
items.
talking about,
So,
yes.
Exactly. So that's kind of difficult when we're reading this document, when you see goal number 1.
Yeah.
Did you do it or not, kind of thing, so.
Yeah, but yeah, Doug brought up some good points that we've taken notes on. So,
Okay.
number 2.
Yes.
Anybody want to chime in on number 2 of things that they feel have been accomplished or think that should be added?
Well, we have here civic and other nonprofit organizations to promote civic awareness and dialogue. And we ought to put in there the talking to the Department of Education, because that's a big civic organization in the city, our schools. And from a political point of view, there's a whole bunch of them gonna get to vote just about the time they graduate. But a lot of our city lives with the kids, and the school system is the biggest part of that. We really have to foster a better communication with what they need, with what they're doing, where we can help, where they can help us. There's a big group of people could volunteer for their civil service.
Mr.
That's
Newsom,
already down
Mr.
there.
Newsom does a pretty good job of that. Yeah, he does send them our way, and we
Yeah.
talked this, yes.
But I would like to be a little more formal. Right now, it's good because it's informal.
Well, we've talked about doing a council, having some meat and potatoes, like, agenda, and going there and doing a meeting for them.
So that's the 4th goal down there.
But I would almost make it, with agent, I'd almost make the school district one. You know, I wanna really put how important the school system is, because the others may have to do with money. The school district has to do with feeling, and citizens.
And is, maybe
all
that's
inclusive.
Yeah.
a tactic under that second point, like one of the tactics is to work with the school district around that civic
Yeah.
participation.
talked
It falls into two places.
I still got a teenager in high school, and I didn't want to embarrass her, so
Well, I've got some good examples, you know, for example, I sit on the school district's budget committee. I've been part of the conversation around allocating the Student Success Act money. And then I picked up the phone and I asked them to push our survey. And it went to every parent in the district.
Yep.
It went as part of their like take-home folders. And then our If I Were Mayor is in their Good News Edition every Friday. They helped us promote the state of the city. Like, so is it student-focused? Is it relationship-focused? I got to say, Shauna, and the rec program, like, that wouldn't exist without school district partnership. Like,
Boy, look,
she's
you
a
know,
rock
look,
star.
look what we've done.
I know, I know.
We've hosted the,
That's what we nailed. We
yeah,
nailed
the
this
meeting
whole
just a
goal.
couple weeks ago
In my-
with
in my
agencies,
opinion,
school
we
districts,
nailed
we've
this whole
partnered
goal.
with them. The port, we're starting to partner with, and other local governments. We just had that meeting where we thought about continuing that meeting, those South Columbia Envision meetings. We're just nailing number 4. I think we should continue to do it.
So, how long, what, 7, 8 years ago, something
I
like that?
think you're right, Doug. I mean, we have
Well, we
nailed
have.
it. We have nailed it.
We just keep it.
It's one of those ongoing targets
Yep.
that is just fundamentally in our everyday business to create that partnership.
Yep.
Focus on those
But,
sections.
but let's also tell the community that we're working together out loud.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
yes.
think the fact that we've had superintendent at last couple things, make statements and facilitate, kind of speaks loud of our.
But let's keep that going loud, because that's a lot of people.
On that, I think it's probably not actually legal to make a Facebook page, just a wide open government Facebook page. I don't know. Is that true or not? Can you do that?
Wild West out there.
Yeah, it is Wild West.
Facebook is pretty restricted on as far as creating a government page.
Right.
You have to be
So-
really connected.
So what if we made a section in our website, and then every time we have, you know, a big project we're working on or tossing around or whatever, we could throw it on this, like, opinion page and say, hey, here's an idea we're throwing out to the public. And then, you know, do a little bit of outreach to say, hey, there's something new on the webpage. You know, if we do enough things, it'll stay fresh every 2 weeks or something like that.
I would not be opposed to that, Keith, but if you get any amount of those individuals that are like on the 4Cs, and I'm not talking bad because it's good for information, but
It's not
there are
constructive.
those who will grab a hold of everything, and no matter what, they will shred it up.
Yeah.
And once that starts, you're lucky to get 3 good comments because somebody feels like they're gonna get personally attacked by those people.
Well, there's
By
no-
those people from their comment. It's not ours.
So there wouldn't be a response section, Rick. On this, there is no response section.
Oh, no
There's just
response.
I mean, they can respond, but you don't know who's responding though. I mean, unless they wanna sign it or
I
whatever.
think Crystal's really does a good job pushing.
Oh, I think she does too, but I think you know, I don't know, I just throwing out something to get a lot, I mean, you're gonna get, like I say, it's something that you don't wanna spend a lot of time on, but if you wanna go find out, you know, some concerns or whatever, hey, it would be there, you know.
I have literally watched people make a comment on there that was in a pretty good spot and maybe just a little bit off kilter, but it was really good in general nature. And
Flood
people
the
just
water.
rip, yes, people just rip them to shreds.
It's bad. It's like, oh,
It
it's
is
going down.
bad.
I've been
It's
victim.
vicious. It's really, I mean, bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's Crystal's bloodbath. Things are just labeled that.
People are creative when they get hateful.
It's hurtful.
On citywide staff goals, is there any way to instill trust in our citizens? I mean, I think that would be a very valid goal, very encouraging, under encouraging participation, and listen and communicate.
There's only one way to get the trust.
And build relationships.
There's only one way to get the trust. You know what? You know how to tell when a politician's lying? His lips are moving. Okay? Put
Good thing
it
you're all
into
public
action.
servants.
Put it into action. You want trust, an action plan. That's gonna give you the trust. I'm telling you that honestly for everybody here. That's what I believe. If we can show integrity and put action behind it at the same time together, and I think that's where we're coming.
The problem with that is it takes time, and we gotta live down history when it wasn't true. So it isn't gonna be an instant thing.
Well, I had that, it's staff goals that I was looking at. And when someone walks through the front door of City Hall, they're met with, hello, how you doing? Hey, we'll try and help you. And this is the way to do it, whatever, if you have a problem. That's instilling trust in why they came in. And rather than starting a sentence with, you can, or you should, it's more starting a sentence, and I think we can help you, we can work with you, we can do this. So I think with the staff instilling trust, those kinds of little things will come up in training and working with instilling trust. I think we have it. I think we have it compared especially to 8 years ago, 6 years ago. Oh, my heavens.
Well, thank you.
People would come in and they would turn around and just go out with their, slapping their head going, yeah, I heard horror stories about this at City Hall. And things have changed, even in the environment as well. Just the environment, just improving the looks of City Hall.
New carpet does wonders.
I was thinking about the culture of yes, which I'm super grateful for,
I
like.
say,
Continue that.
we're probably, I don't know, 1,000% more communication than we were, 20 years ago.
Thank
But
you.
we need that again.
Yeah.
So every evolving.
And that's, I feel like, goal two, like this is part of the culture. These will not be achieved, like, we're not checking these off the list. Like, oh yeah, relationship, boom, check. Like, no, that's not.
Does
So,
anybody
oh.
have any, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Does anybody have anything more to add to number 2?
The only thing that, like I had brought up, the mayor had talked about having whatever you're gonna call it, whether it's an open house or a fireside or something. And we talked about it until I figure it's just like the sign, it's never gonna happen. But if we put it on a
But it
list,
did.
maybe it'll happen.
It did happen, right?
It happens.
Yeah.
So I'll build that fire pit when I get the dirt out there, okay?
There you go. Well, I mean, you had talked about having those.
An actual fireside, and folks might show up for it.
I will.
People love
There you
bonfires. They're crazy for bonfires. This town loves bonfires.
All right, so goal number 3.
I,
Before we leave,
added
yeah,
2
go.
things. What?
Oh, I was just gonna, on goal number 2, I think that's a point of, we should be really proud of ourselves for the accomplishments made in this area. I mean, we're managing Crystal's managing a dozen web accounts. Our numbers exceed all of our peers. I mean, even you're getting up to Gresham-sized cities before
Yeah.
we can even compare. So I
And
mean,
look at our
we're-
tourism. Our tourism is, Discover Columbia County is way huge.
And, yeah, there's,
It's about to get a lot bigger.
I know. I know it is.
so yeah, I just wanted to leave it with that there's, this is really a point of pride, I think, in
Yeah.
the accomplishments. And there's always more. There will be a continuous thing. But,
Number 3, I thought we put this on the original one, the support, enhance physical environment and livability and safety, that is just Parks Master Plan. For me, it also includes, all the work we've done with State Routes to Schools. And it also includes supporting, the code enforcement 100%. All of that is about supporting people, because when I came on council, those 2 things were hotly contested and were up for debate every single budget season. So we've taken a lot of strides, and I think it's important to note those.
And as the mayor mentioned earlier, that may be one of the projects that you think as a council is to revisit that master plan. And redefine
It is,
review
because-
of what's been accomplished so far, because
Right.
there are projects in that master plan that you have accomplished, and those are
Right.
great things to commend from everybody in the past and the staff and the council.
If you don't tell anybody about it, who cares?
But there's a lot of citizens that don't use our parks. And so when you say that we're gonna promote a physical and safe environment, like, I don't use the park, so what am I paying for? So you have to add all the things that make us safe.
You know, with this rolling basalt everywhere, maybe we look at parks also as these city street easements that are really cool when they're cleaned up, but they have blackberries shooting out in the sidewalk or something. Maybe that's something that needs to be looked at as far as enhancing the actual natural landscapes that we have, and not maybe expand into a whole bunch. We got a lot of parks, you guys. I know everybody's about parks, but we have a lot of parks. We do.
We have tons of parks.
We
Our
do.
size, we have.
Focusing on enhancing the ones.
And I
that-
understand the master plan, the Ross Road would be about it. That's gonna
Someday.
be good for a big UGB. That's the only area that's gonna be missing something.
Now, the
Now you got Campbell.
Northwest also.
Yeah, Campbell.
One.
Campbell's getting a bunch of money to it.
I know, but it's still, further out though, it doesn't fit, so,
So,
down the road.
well, you got, if you wanna go to the county, you can. We got to, the fairgrounds.
But to your,
I'm saying future,
Right.
not now, future.
anyways, to your
Yes.
rock point,
Yes.
the rock wall at Despains Hill is on the historic landmarks. So I mean, identifying those things, and that's what the youth council is working on right now, is doing photographic evidence and doing the list, so that, because we haven't added anything to that in 30 years. And it's like, we need to appreciate what we have before we go building new stuff. I mean, we don't, like you said, we don't need another park, we need to appreciate the monuments and the spaces that we have, and value them, you know?
Following
the other-
that, we have a bunch of roads or easements, like, I think it's Fifth Street.
Yeah.
Hey,
Going in.
yeah, yeah, but it's also between Columbia Boulevard and all. Is there a map that we could, hey, this is some of the stuff that's here? It's not improved, but it's, just tell people it's here. Watch out for the deer running through here.
In our vision, we have a vision trail going through there, but it's not on paper.
Yeah, but I'd like to say right now, hey, this is kind of what it's going to be. Right now, it's blackberry bush and deer.
Well, we saved that about 8 years ago. Somebody wanted to vacate that, and we saved it for a trail.
But the other, how many other things do we have like that that are unusable for building or
A
roads?
lot.
But, hey, this is part of the city.
I think there needs to be room for a goal in there to improve our historic documentation, and I know this is gonna be a dirty word for a lot of us, and for,
Don't say it.
okay, I won't, but I'll say half of it, to improve our cultural integrity of this community. And somehow we've started that with one of the things that I was really proud of is our wayfinding. And what happened with our wayfinding, the staff did that. We directed the staff in that sense, and they came up with a great wayfinding. There's also to implement the arts in that as well, in terms of designs. I know we get a lot of pushback on some of the designs that the Arts and Cultural Commission has done in the past. I contributed heavily to that financially, and I'm proud of those bronze statues that will be around for a long, long time. They're permanent. However, the placement of those could have been a whole lot better, I think. And I know it was under the Gateway project and all of that. But when the staff takes a little more control of what's going on with the arts and with our cultural movements and of what we're doing with historical research, all of that. And I just think it's more effective and more efficient. And I think that's true now at this point. It might not have been true 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but it is true now.
One problem with artists, if you become organized and methodic, they'll tell you you actually just killed the art. That, I don't care what you say, I'll give you an argument, and I've got 17 people giving 19 arguments. That's one thing about art.
True story, Steve.
You're never gonna win that one.
That is a true story.
That's why I think it would be more effective for the staff to take up more control with what's happening in our city.
Well, I'm saying that's why you want the staff to have less control. They'll carry that down staff's throat forever. And the staff couldn't win that one when they started.
Well, I see it as, you know, the creative and the logistics.
That's right, I mean,
I'm a
it's,
logistics person, I can't paint anything.
right now, we're ripping down great statues in the south of Southern Generals because the attitude of the world changed, so. But when you start playing with what to do with art, cross your fingers and go to the other room.
So, I think we have a pretty good depth of understanding for number 3 if we're ready to move on to number 4.
It doesn't talk about water process, saying, something from what was likely, events have done.
I don't know, I put, for me, tourism is an economic development. This is about supporting enhancing physical environment that promotes the livability and safety for the community. I see this as people that live here, not necessarily tourism.
The waterfront piece of it, though, was building a boardwalk, connecting transportation.
Yes.
Is,
So do you put that here in an economic development, or do you put it?
I don't know why it couldn't be both.
Or is it
It's more than economic development, and economic development's only one piece of the.
well, and if it's a park, is it already covered?
Yeah, we just completed, for example, we just completed stairways on a staircase for the public safety down at Great Cliffs.
There's always a path there, at least we won't have people sliding down.
The gulch.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
Now, that boardwalk is starting to shove things down people's throats. I would like to have a little bit of wording to allow what's gonna happen on the waterfront. The minute you say a boardwalk, the staff's already got a design. Yeah, we-
Pathway.
Pathway, that's better.
Fully accessible pathway,
Public interface.
not a
A
great.
concept at this point.
Yeah, but as I say, when you say a boardwalk, that doesn't sound like a concept, it sounds like a drawing.
It's a river walk.
Well, a path along the river is one thing, and a vertical edge experience where you walk up and lean your elbows on a rail, and.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's
That's where you got the money.
corner of awesomeness, you know.
Yes.
Personally,
Oh,
but,
absolutely, yeah.
But I'm against that. I'm
And I
against
know you are.
allowing a
I know you are, so.
pathway down to the water.
I do think it's one of the
But
coolest,
it doesn't preclude it either.
one of the most awesome opportunities we have for public engagement and for a
Yes.
conversation is programming that park and that trail. Like, that is like, bring everybody, bring all the stuff, be a part of it. Do we want markets? What do we want? But we get to do a really broad community engagement around what happens there because it's everybody's space. So,
And you can do both.
how about it?
And the other thing, there may be some people out there with better ideas than we have.
Tony got back.
I mean,
I-
there could be
Somebody will grab it.
10 different pathways out there.
All right,
The wordy one.
ready to move on to number 4? That's the full page.
Wordy one.
The full page. So, did we put something down though on just like, looking at natural, the natural easements within our roads? And the rolling basalt, just kind of maybe as part of the park.
Appreciate habitat.
Yeah.
Like urban trails, the urban trail.
Like
is
just keeping it tidier, you know what I
Green
mean?
space.
There you go,
Maybe enhance,
natural areas,
yes.
I just made a
green
note of
space.
Start
green
chasing a
space.
deer away now.
trail, so.
No, they're in the front yard, they're in the crosswalks.
There's good bang for the buck.
As long as you plant roses, they'll be happy.
All right, number 4.
Tomatoes and roses.
Okay, number 4, Matt, go ahead.
I was gonna throw it back at you guys.
Support economic development.
Expand and support. Do you really want to know?
Promote local job growth and retention.
I think it's important to remember that, as much as this says goal 4, this is not the appropriate time to list out specific projects.
Yes.
Right.
So
I think-
keep that in mind as we're talking, that we're not looking for specific projects here, but more of initiatives
We're not
and
slaying the dragon.
strategic planning, correct?
Well, this is where we also need to sit down and decide which properties have the most potential and quickest potential, or whatever, I mean. We need to really look at that.
I'd love to pull that out and do a session just on that, like a council development session just
We
on.
have tons of property right now, and we need to prioritize those and really see, how they're gonna affect the future.
The other thing we have now is the big black elephant of how Portland's going down the tubes, how we can entice their industry here. I mean, basically pirate economic development.
That falls part of the first bullet point there of developing.
Well, I'd say Portland in it, I wouldn't be so vague. Is the point. That's what I'm pointing out, is we have a targeted area, rather than it's nice
We
if we
gotta
get.
include Beaverton and Hillsborough.
That's correct, that's correct.
Poach other people's jobs.
I think, personally, I think on this whole thing, it requires, and we kind of talked a little bit in our joint meeting, but I think it requires like a headhunter. I've been saying that.
This is an expert's job.
And yes, we need to put the infrastructure in because it's not there yet, but there are some areas that it's there. If you're looking at port property.
That's
if you're
why
looking at
having the
property,
port, help us out.
Yeah.
Not hurt anything.
Yeah.
I think we're too early to hire somebody ourselves, but working with the port's a great idea right now.
You can hire headhunters that don't take a
Until they
salary
bring
from
some-
you until
They bring a
they
business in.
list somebody, and that somebody, they'll get the payment from,
Right.
or wanting to.
Like a finder fee, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you can split that, you can put it out any way you want. I'd like to see us go forward with incubators. And incubators are facilities that allow young entrepreneurs and startup companies to utilize a facility, an office facility, and provide someone who might be in the chamber or whatever, but provide a kind of a catalyst of an environment that individuals can go to and create their own business. How the city profits from that is they'll sign a 2 or 3 year contract to keep their business in the community, and the city that profited from that mostly in Oregon has been Bend, and they've had more startups in Bend than you can ever imagine. The Hydro Flask company's one that's gone worldwide, but they still have their original startup in Bend. They came out of that incubator. I mean, it's just, there's tons of them, a lot of recreational kinds of companies, whatever. I started to think, would that work in our community? And I think our community's ripe for it. Because we do, like Topaz brings to the council, he says there's a lot of bright people in this town. There's many people who could utilize a place, a facility, and we have those facilities. We got one down at the paper mill as well. What's it called? What's
The training center.
the training center, right? So it just seems to me like that would be a good fit, but that could be just one little goal. That's too.
Am I missing something down there? I didn't know there's a training center down at our mill.
Well, that
It's the building.
building.
Oh. The
Office
Oberdorfer
building? Yeah, the Oberdorfer building, yeah.
It's like,
What
what
did
the?
you call it?
Oberdorfer.
Why'd you call it that?
Because that's who it's named after.
Well, there's Oberdorfer room in it, but it's actually the training center was the name of the building.
Well, anyway,
Oberdorfer is get related to
I
Dillard.
think we could take advantage, I think we should start kind of taking advantage and looking at those kinds of ideas and those kinds of concepts to help foster the connections, especially of startups.
Could we get a state office of economic development located here in St. Helens?
There's talk about a small business development center, and I know the chamber is actively trying to figure out what that would take. And that's the idea of an incubator too. I mean,
We
this
had
is
an
a
office for
great
that.
regional. Well, it's a really cool regional initiative, and
Yeah.
it was really in line with some of that SWAT that we did, you know. And how does it support all of South County and the chamber? How can we tie in with
Right.
education? And how do we pick what we're really good at and incubate that, like Ben
Right,
did,
exactly.
you know? That was a really, I like having it on here, and I want to bring that back to the region. Like, that's one I think we should go through and kind of prioritize things that are regional that we can work on as a
I
team.
know CSET had identified that, and also the port had identified that, and, the chamber had started Cake House there.
Yeah.
And they were somebody that lost the business plan competition, and now she's so busy, she can only be there 2 days a week. Because she took off. I mean, her business exploded from that location.
Exactly.
And to your
You
point,
never know
let me
unless
find
you
out.
try. Incubators
Kind
are-
of continue on that, I mean, one of our, I don't think got brought up too much on our last urban renewal, but one of the projects on the first urban renewal round that we went was like a office, a high-speed office building down here for individual offices and whatnot, for people to have small businesses and whatnot, because, like I say, we've got beautiful waterfront here, could have some high-priced offices out there, you know, but that's sort of the same thing as, but the incubator thing over there, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And a band-
Especially if we market for things that we want out here on the riverfront.
In the city of Bend,
Maritime industry, perhaps?
if you have a successful business, once the business is launched, you have 6 or 9 months in the incubator to, and at that time, then you move out, but it's, it goes with the whole thing. It's just a great idea. Everyone's kind of, it's a super model to look at, and, boy, it's paid big dividends for the city of Bend.
Council, I forgot what is community development process improvement kickoff 224. What is that?
I
I'm
had
drawing
the
a
wrong-
blank.
I had the wrong date. This actually happened this afternoon, where we brought together the staff from the front desk, engineering,
Yeah.
building, planning, John, myself,
Okay.
and community development. We talked through the process, tried to identify log jams, tried to identify communications improvement opportunities.
So this was
The
not
very
something
things
that
that
we did,
well, yes, we're.
or at least the 224.
We've been talking about it for a long time.
We are doing it. This was, I had the wrong date.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
no.
2/26.
Thinks it says,
But this did literally happen today. And thank you, I'm trying to follow your direction.
this thing about support economic development, we gotta raise the flag, we got a hunk of fiber cable out down our mid road, which connects us to the world quite well.
It's actually strung through the city.
Yeah, I know, but as they say, I don't see it as a highlight, hey, we got cable pathways to the rest of the world here.
That's a strength, yes.
Yes, and a marketing point.
And with 5G and all this stuff is getting to be big deal, that hunk of cable.
That's why we talked about that, because you gotta have that cable to have a high-speed office building. Absolutely, yeah.
Now, you were in on the conversations with the gentleman, you came in when he was his name Dan?
With
Yeah.
a 5G.
The wireless guy, yeah.
Municipal
Yeah.
broadband
Is
discussion.
that still being tossed around, or?
So, we did a feasibility, kind of a low
Yeah.
level, and then we did
Medium,
did a
grade?
medium one, and I've plugged in with
both?
some people. I went down to Independence in Monmouth has the MyNet. It's a utility that they've been running for 15 years or so. And yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. And I've been to some of the meetings with all the state and federal broadband agencies to is it a good fit? And the conclusions of the work that we've done said, yeah, St. Helens would be a good market to do this, but unlike, like Hillsborough is moving, their market is completely saturated, and they're moving forward anyway. You know, and they're saying that it's probably not a good idea, but our market, they said, yeah, it probably would be a good idea, but then
So they're hoping to steal customers where we have actual customers here.
So you start to think about, you know, how fast things are changing in this industry and what 5G, this race for 5G, and 5G needs fiber. But 5G would also be a direct competitor to when you have gig service in your cell phone from your cell provider, and we're not doing cell providers. So it's something to really think about. So it's, you know, it may make sense today, but you know, when you start looking out a few years, I'm not sure that you're.
Well, one of the things now, a lot of the machine tool and a lot of the industrial things is requiring 5G just to run their equipment.
Oh, and autonomous vehicles will need 5G service too to work.
So
That's the real race.
Ooh.
Once all the cars get it, they'll probably need 10G.
So,
You're saying that too. You're saying in 10 years, 10G will be the minimum.
so, but we looked at both wireless and fixed cable for like a mile stretch, I thought.
Yeah,
Is that what we talked?
yeah, there was a strategy
Four
about
different points. Was-
developing slowly over time, opportunity zone being a real favorable thing for an investor to come in and do that build out, or at least the portions that were in the zone.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's just been a little unclear and so many other priorities.
Yep,
But,
we have bigger priorities than
Yeah,
that.
well, let's SWAT it, keep it for a SWAT, let's SWAT the whole thing. I did see the USDA released a bunch of money for that, and we're not sufficiently rural, and we have pretty good coverage, so we wouldn't qualify for any money right now.
and that was concluded with our
Oh, really?
investigation as
Yeah,
well.
it's a Klatskanai thing.
But, okay, back to the industrial, there's another piece of industrial goodness that we have very few people have, and that's the basalt. There are types of industries where you've got to have super solid foundations. And a lot of the high-tech electronics and stuff like that needs that cable for the communication.
Yep. You don't wanna know why they dig out so much dirt out of Intel? Because they need that much rock to compact in there to make sure that there's no vibration
That's right,
for
and we got it.
machinery.
And I'm really excited to continue the planning for the industrial park, right? We've started with the LCD work, and the site
Yep,
preparation
yep.
is beginning, and all of that, so I feel like
Up with
that's.
Jay, we still got Jay on the hook for maybe some funding down the road, John, on that industrial park?
As this plan
Yeah.
matures, yeah, for sure.
That's gonna be a really exciting thing this year.
You do some research and get a list of all those
So Jay is a guy from the state, just so everybody knows.
ones that need.
What's that?
I'll let these guys know. Jay.
Anybody who makes transistors, the optical,
We'll be in Independence next week.
people with electron
Come
microscope.
across that name, but
Yeah.
now it's familiar.
Yes. Hey,
I just discovered
permit and
that.
fee structure review. Would you do like a little
Things are
hypothetical planning of what a little bit of increase would look like as far as over permits for maybe a little bump in another quarter of a building inspector or something like that?
Yeah, the cost of adding a building.
Yes, because we have budgeted for half. I think we budgeted for a full, unless you took it away.
It's
We
been
had it.
budgeted to a full, it's never been
Yes,
really
never-
put into the budget.
Yes.
Last year, because we just didn't feel it
Yep.
was, we didn't feel that we could find a qualified
But
applicant.
I wanna look at a small increase, and if we can get these applications out, there's no reason we can't in a month. There's no reason we can't. If we need to hire somebody, that's what the increase is for. I'm hearing it, I'm not trying to, I'm
No,
hearing it.
that's what we're going through this kind of planning stage for, to see how we can make it efficient first and then decide what we need.
Bring it to one of our meetings for an open discussion.
I'm gonna go the other direction.
15 minutes.
I wanna cut the permits in half and see how much of a bump we get in number of permits. Now, that's,
We can't.
no, I'm not, no, stop. If we triple our people who wanna build here, cause their permits are low, then I have enough money for the person. Right now, we're people stopped. No matter what the permit cost is, we we just can't handle it because we don't have enough people.
Has the council seen any kind of comparison of what our fees are compared to other cities around here?
Not for a while.
I mean, that might be a good place to start, because reducing the fees by half, that sounds like a great idea. I have not looked at them in the last year or so, but we are already pretty low.
I know.
Something when John Ellis was
You
here.
guys increased them right before I came in, because I remember Randy May coming in and saying, "What's this?" Because I was sitting here and got mayor-elect, and you guys are like, "Oh, it's just a small increase because it wasn't covering costs." And he's like, "Okay, that's all I was wondering. Just a little percent. All right, have a good day."
Well, people are not building because of the cost of
Right,
it.
they're not sticker shocked
No,
about our
and
permit.
it's not about that. That's why I said it's about.
I'm trying to jumpstart it even further, though.
Yeah, if anything.
What I'm trying to do is steal out of Portland and out of Hillsborough.
But I think that
We've
Mark,
done that in the past a lot, Steve, we've historically cut our STCs in half for years and years and years.
Something, yeah.
We're finally back where we should be now, but.
Well, as I say, we also have big mills and some other stuff too.
but I think getting the right help and kind of a PR campaign about we're open for business, both industrial and retail and commercial. I think that's the campaign. It's not about headhunter for specific site. It's about we're open no matter what you need. It's housing you need, it's great schools you need, it's a site for your
All
business.
jobs
We are
coming here.
open for business.
Those guys are eating
And
lunch here.
that's the piece that I don't think we have that PR piece. You know, we do the tourism with the events, but we don't have that piece that Sisters has, that Bend has, that even Pendleton has, that experience St. Helens piece that is live here, work here, play here. You know,
Especially if we can direct them to our waterfront. If we have them working on that side of the tracks and somehow we get them down here to eat or something, get them on this water, and they look like, and they go, "Man, that was a quick drive from Portland too." Really was. I've never been out that 30. That wasn't bad at all.
we're like high-speed film
Somebody
of
hits
what the
Gap,
drive is
please.
like.
Doug, you ruined it.
Penny, it's not work here, live here, play here. It's work here, live here, fish here.
You know, everything, not just tourism or industrial, we need to sell St. Helens the package.
Well, we know this one is one that is brought up, target in our collaborative meeting.
So, can I give a 30-second debrief on our process improvement meetings? I think it's going to maybe resonate. There was two, maybe three really big takeaways, and one of them was just how much better things are working with Christina being in the office.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, Heidi is like,
Heidi's no longer wanting to quit.
caught up. I'm caught up.
Heidi hasn't worked a Sunday in a while.
Yeah, I can manage, she can manage things as they come in now, so that's a big thing. And the other takeaway was, you know, what takes up most of your time, and it's the counter, it's the distractions, it's the, you know, somebody calls, we run, form as a team, kind of work with everybody, then we go back to our work, completely distracted, we start over, we get to top of the stairs, back here, back down there, you're working, and it's just a cycle of distraction. So what are the kinds of things we can do to
YouTube videos.
create
Yeah,
either
that was-
predictable
Bill-
times for the
Jenny
public,
brought that up.
have that interface, or something else. Maybe it's, you know, another hour in the morning that we aren't open, or maybe it's, you know, closing hour.
This was funny though, because, and we're not, this just happened this afternoon.
Right.
I think this is a good opportunity too. But it was funny because we're hearing that, but then we're also hearing the most successful applicants and the folks who get through the process fastest have those conversations up front and have that staff engagement really early and when they walk in.
Right.
I propose that this is, can we use this as the example of how to improve communication between staff and council? Can we put together a summary of this meeting, of the process, of what staff recommendations are? Can we invite your input? Can this be an example of how to streamline our communication around important things? Like, can we take this? I would like
And
to
then,
take
and
this.
enhance it into that.
Well, I just want this, it's a really good example, it just happened today, this is happening today, today is the day. But if this could be the example of, you know, so here's something that you have identified, that staff has heard loud and clear, we know we need to improve this process. So here we are, we've started the first step, here are the second step, third step, We bring it to you, we need your input, we need you to be champions and be engaged and share some of these messages in the community. Like, can we really work this together as a case
Well,
study?
I think you do that and get it ironed out and have Crystal do a PR. Have somebody come in and act like they're wanting a building permit and say, we here at the City of St. Helens are committed to, we know we had some issues, we've looked at things,
Yeah.
and we are committed to actually getting a quicker review than you've ever had in the City of St. Helens in a long, long time.
Let's
No.
be able to deliver on the promise
That's
first.
absolutely it.
Right.
But nobody's willing to place that bet, put that down, do that. Because once you say that, then it makes it a reality, and you have to follow through.
Yeah, and it's getting
So-
late, and I'm probably not being super clear, but.
So, I mean, what you're saying is fine and dandy, but make sure that you're willing to, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
And because people's time is important to them.
Okay.
It is.
Yes, that
And
was
investment
exactly.
dollars, and it's all about investment
I say,
dollars.
if we had training videos online, you know, list a whole bunch of different questions that we know come in here all the time, and you pick, oh, you got this question? Go watch this video. And it's like, you know, some little easy things to do.
Any guesses, and Jenny, you can't speak on this, and Matt or John, you can't, any guesses on just about a 2,000 square foot home on what SDC and building permit cost yet? Any
18?
guesses? Yes?
Not at all. I know it's
And
outrageous.
then you get that, and then they're waiting 3 months. Keith pretty much nailed it on the head, $18,000. And then you've invested that. Then you've got, and that's a construction loan for a lot of people unless you're an investor.
And that's the beginning.
And you're taking 3 months to get a plan review back to me?
Mhm.
Wait a minute here.
So I can't
Wait a minute here.
I can't wait to improve this process. It's gonna be
Now,
awesome.
Rick, one of
We've even
the,
talked about payment processes for that kind of stuff and whatnot, you know, all different types of things that could help the process. you know.
Rick, one of the other problems we have is historical. We had a planner here that would tell you about half of the fees that you needed, and about 3/4 of the way through, he'd drop on. And his happiness is if he's put a contractor into bankruptcy. That's part of our history that people outside the city know. And some of what we gotta do is overcome bad problems before. So you gotta do a good job now, and as you say, make sure you keep doing it. Because we have a bad history that went before us. That's some of our problem. Even though the people right now are working okay, we kinda gotta PR how good we are. And
Well, I think we're getting there. I think.
In Little Town, that word travels real quick, I'll
Well-
guarantee you.
one of the things
All
that,
those contractors talk to each other.
and it's the big contractors,
Yes,
They absolutely do.
well, even the big contractors, like the people who work for and set up things like McDonald's and all, they deal with corporate office. And corporate office has a rundown in every town in the US. There's a file on St. Helens at corporate office and at McDonald's, at Walmart.
So feeling over time, is there anything in goal 4 that can be removed in your estimation?
Number 4 on the riverfront development, it talks about evaluating the return on investment, and that was something that's new, right? So,
Yeah, up top, are there any? I feel like there is some redundancy, that 4th and 5th bullet, exploring urban renewal and leveraging urban renewal.
So that number 4 would look at like this waterfront property and
Oh, are you
see what the economic development
down below?
would that be?
Yeah.
On this handout, right? Yeah.
yeah,
That's important.
this is something that came out of the presentation last week here.
Right.
And the build grant has its metrics, and there's sources of what development brings your community over time, and
Right.
and it includes some things in that grant specifically. It didn't include any kind of the tourism piece of it. The hotel tax couldn't be used as just because of the nature nature of the grant. There's a cost benefit, but it's clearly has a benefit to the city. I mean, it's, his performance was a few $1 million over a 20-year cycle, and so I just, if we're expecting those kinds of, if you want to evaluate things that are being proposed, like a mixed-use building, and look at that over a 20-year cycle, what it means to the
Right.
community as far as revenue and expenses, and we can certainly do that. I'm not sure it's worded quite correctly, but.
Those things too, yeah, one of the things I liked him talking about was, you know, you build this facility, and as soon as that facility's done, now, the price on everything goes up, depending on what the facility is, and how close
Well, there's that-
range, and
there's that
what
value
you want
equation.
there, and so, you know, maybe, you know, thinking about that, maybe we do wanna hold on to certain lots for future to let them build in value, you know?
I think bullets 4 and 5 are much needed. I really do, because maybe not right now, and maybe not this last year, but you never know what company is going to locate here and what's going to happen, and how we need flexibility.
Yep.
We need to continue to explore the ideas to support economic development. We need to do that when the opportunity hits, and it is going to hit. It went the other way, unfortunately, when we developed our urban renewal, but, you know, it's going to come back.
They'll come back.
All right.
Counselor Morton, can those be combined, or you?
I think
feel
they
that
could be
should-
combined.
They should stay separate, they can be
Yeah.
combined?
Yes.
So I think the purpose there was to evaluate, because of this incentivizing this first big investment to come, there's going to be a public-private partnership, and it's rationalizing the public investment. If, you know, if we're putting public dollars to
Right.
partner with this private project, what does it mean, big picture, with our community, right? You get the initial investment, and the return on that investment, then there's this kind of ripple effect of the other things that might come in and bring
Yeah.
higher than you would get otherwise if you
Exactly.
didn't have the great.
And looking at it, we're not gonna see much return for several years, but down the road, yeah.
Because of-
Okay, let's stop right now. The whole waterfront is tied together, whether you like it or not. And in the middle of this, we got the lagoon and a big mill. If the lagoon goes away, the mill goes away, and the sewer plant goes away. What does that mean to the other piece closer to the city? Until we can, because you're not gonna build a big fancy thing next to the lagoon and the mill and the sewer plant. You can put little things there, but they're not big money deals. We really need a global plan for what we expect, because we know that mill's going away. What's this time schedule for that mill going away? Because if it's gonna be 10 or 20 years, whatever you put on the front waterfront is disposable. Plan to rip it down when that big mill goes away.
Well, that'll be industrial property, though. That's zoned industrial.
That's fine, but I gotta get rid of that lagoon and that part. If I were building aircraft parts there or glulam wood, those are nice industries.
And am I hearing that we need a coherent strategy for the riverfront?
The whole riverfront,
Is
yeah.
that what goes on the list? Coherent strategy for the riverfront?
This one you can't piecemeal.
No, and it's awesome public engagement opportunities, and we can, you know, really,
And
that, we're probably gonna need some consulting.
we recognize,
kinda did that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we kinda
did that a little bit.
We recognize that, Steve.
Right.
I mean, we have in our development that easement for the road for the port property, so they can get rid of a bridge, because there's a creek that separates properties there. So it doesn't make sense to, go beyond that point because of the creek.
But if
We
that-
get
yeah.
what you're saying, and then.
Lagoon
also
stays there for the
private.
next 25 years, fancy stuff isn't gonna build next to it.
If that lagoon, which is the central waterfront, if the central waterfront were to be developed, I could see Armstrong's sediment coming over into that. I could see the pull yard, all that coming into the central waterfront. Our in-water stuff coming into the central waterfront. Then you really have the opportunity to develop the whole entire waterfront that you're talking about. But until all that is cleaned up, our hands are tied.
That's what I'm pointing out is, right now I can't put fancy stuff next to the park under the cliff if I've got the lagoon and that junk there.
So does that come up in
The mill does
priority?
not need the lagoon though necessarily.
I know, but we gotta state, because if we were to say, get rid of the lagoon and turn that mill into a glue lamb place, so it doesn't need any water, that's nice. But we want to kind of pass to the word around, this is what's gonna happen for this 1.5 miles of riverfront or slough front.
We're in the process of doing the master plan
Yeah, what is
right now, right?
I think I can speak to your point there about, most of the Boise site is heavy industrial, or it's all heavy industrial, but it's bordered by residential.
Yep.
And in a planning world, you typically have step-down buffer zoning. You'll go from heavy industrial to light industrial to sometimes multifamily to single-family is kind of a typical transfer. When you looking at the waterfront, you have this very heavy industrial use next to your general commercial area, and
There's gonna be that transition.
there's going to be a transition,
Yeah.
and it's because
Abrupt.
the city owns it, we have that control to be able to control the outcome. You know,
We want to tell people about that. 'Cause right now, the original plan, which actually shows up in the newspaper again, we have a hotel, we have a whole bunch of multi-family homes all the way to the lagoon.
That isn't a plan, that's a concept.
It's what people see, though.
I know.
It's
I
with
understand
Always
a,
in the paper.
we got to get rid of that damn picture.
It's a concept.
It's been taken off the website.
But it's still around. We got to put another picture in its place.
Can we get the central waterfront up on here somewhere?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. We've got to describe our waterfront from the kayak to the city park. But some of the things that could happen or going to happen as compared to just, right now, people smell that lagoon and that's all they see.
Well, what they smell is the actual primary, not the lagoon. 'cause the
They're
lagoon is
not
actually-
that
The
scientific.
lagoon is actually cleaner than it has ever been. I've lived here all my life, and I grew up on South Ninth. They used to have black liquor foam coming up, flying off it on a windy day. And there was actually ducks swimming around in it. And if you go down there, you'll see probably today, because they're probably flying this time of year, you'll see ducks swimming in it.
Oh, yeah.
Different
Um,
species.
So there's 39 acres. If this is, how much is it, this right here, 27?
24, yeah.
24. There's 39 acre central waterfront. And then there's actually a little bit of the beyond buffer that borders the river. That's a big chunk of property.
Big chunk.
I mean, I don't think people understand the scope of work that could be done in that central waterfront.
And, you know, we are already about a half hour over time. This is not gonna be solved tonight.
We've
Awesome
gotten a little bit into the
opportunity.
weeds a little bit, if I can.
Oh, you think?
I think we need our, like, priorities for follow-up,
Yeah,
like,
I think
workshops.
Rachel, John, and I have a good understanding
And
of
families.
some changes and updates to make and bring back to you on these initiatives.
Yeah, we
But
do.
if everyone's okay with moving to the last goal, number 5, we can revisit this at the next meeting when we really talk about specific projects and everything.
Oh, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. We're just gonna tear them apart
You
and
think
put
you
them
know
back
what
together.
we're thinking.
This is my last page,
Here
man.
we go, here we go, here we go. This is the planning to plan part, yay.
Is there anything on page 5 that,
Well, kind of like what John brought up, we did talk about visioning book, and he brought that with the, we actually looked at, I don't think that was the actual book, though, that we actually,
No, this isn't Gresham's here. They have a vision and they actually have a work plan.
that's the word.
Another standalone, even more
Yeah.
refined.
Now, I think we should do one like that for the lagoon, absolutely.
This is, you know,
once we
This
get
is
that
how we get
master
there.
plan process?
This is how we get there, guys. This is how we get there.
That's a great.
I want to make a comment about conduct community visiting process.
Yes.
One of the problems with looking into the future and expand, if you have people who haven't looked over the hill, trying to design something that's really cool from over the hill, you don't get it.
That's why you get a lot of voices in the
You
conversation.
got a lot of voices, but you don't get any real vision. And one of the things that public meetings do, there are a lot of people with frustrations, and usually they come, they're psychiatrists, and they come and get rid of their frustrations by yelling at us, which is good. It doesn't move the city forward, but it does help the community. But somehow we've got to have like 5 or 6 visions of what could happen. And have the people then look at that and add to and subtract and mix. But we need kind of to show people some of the things that could be. If we leave it up to just them, we have a limited viewpoint.
They need to see the vision. They need somebody to lead them.
That's right, that's right.
I definitely agree with you. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that.
We kind of do that with our committee we form, but that doesn't necessarily go out.
As I say, our committees were born and raised here in St. Helens is our problem there. And one of the things I talked about on Monday, people are taking coal and chopping it up and turning it into chemicals. And one of the chemicals that is coming out of this particular plant is CO2. The value of CO2 when they're piping from the Carolinas to Texas is paying for the whole project. Now, all the other chemicals that are coming out of coal are horrendously expensive. But if I say coal here in Oregon, man, well, you know about where that's going to end.
Just wait, Councilor Topaz. You're gonna have signs on your fence tomorrow.
But that's right. And this is,
Coal trains.
yep. And to talk about coal as a chemical, there's not a whole lot of people can understand that type of stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing that I got out of the meeting I was at, tying up large ships is $40,000 a day. How would you like to collect $40,000 a day because we're tying up ships here?
Because a ship has about, at the average of about $13 million worth of cargo per ship. That's just the average. So
That's right.
that's by the longshoremen. They tried to get the port to build an actual real dock in Columbia City because they had enough room for offloading. These were riverboat pilots that said, build a big dock, not just that little wharf. Never mind, that was a long time ago.
Hang on, just one question on this goal, for those of you who were here last year, what is that last bullet? Like, could someone say more about that? Cultural investment and why it's here in the planning area?
Well, I hit on that earlier.
Okay, yeah. And it makes a lot of sense in the, where is it? In that supporting and enhancing a physical environment. Is that
Yeah,
kind of the same idea?
exactly. Yeah, same idea.
Okay, cool, thank you.
I think it's better said right there.
In the physical environment
Well,
or?
no, I
the-
just like the 3 words, encourage cultural investment.
Okay, in the physical environment, livability and safety.
Doesn't matter where it's at.
Okay.
Looks like we've, the police department, we're looking at that. We're looking at the library with a little expansion with the maker space, so yeah. Oh, that's already stuff that's already met, okay, got it.
Kind of ongoing stuff.
Those are the citywide.
Yep.
One of the things to remember about the library and the rec department is, we have the problem of, what in some places they call it latchkey kids. There's no parents at home because both are working. Now, in little kids, it seems to be easy, just shove them into the room and let them play. But when you get now to college kids and things like that, we really do need to expand space for what we do with the youth, what they can do. And some of that may be, we'll say, vocational jobs where it's really a training for them to get a real job later on. I mean, it isn't just like you sit here, watch TV, or read a book. There may be other things you can do at this after school, whatever.
Well, PCC had programs at the high school years and years ago, after school and into the evening. And then they kind of, there was no age limit, really. I mean, anyone could enter in. That's where they learned welding. It's where they learned all kinds of crafts.
Right.
And that's gone.
I know, but it's needed
Are
even
you alive in there?
You're talking about a teen center.
whatever, yeah,
Because that's what the teen center concept was, the kids that
My buddy
parents are
earlier, I
working.
was kind of
And
worried.
maybe
Like,
some of them are good kids and some are bad kids. And so the good kids can mentor the
Yeah,
bad kids
yeah.
while they're there. They can catch up on their homework. They can do a
right.
variety of things, yeah.
But the reality is, we've got kids with no guidance
Right.
after school till the parents come
There
home.
needs to be guidance.
And we also have the need for pre-training young people for a job,
Yes.
which the schools don't have. And as Doug pointed out, we used to do it and now we gave it up, and we need it even more now than we did before. Why doesn't St. Helens become a leader in that? This is why you want to come to St. Helens. We do more to keep kids going on. I'm not afraid to say we're the best at this or that.
And Counselor Topaz. That's great, and we have a training center. But here, can we put that under like this goal 3, the recreation program? And then start to build.
I don't care where you put it, just put it someplace.
And then hang on to that for a SWAT, because I think that's gonna be a really valuable piece in all this.
The other
There's
piece,
so many
though, with
priorities.
all this Throwing out this, connections to educational and vocational.
Yeah.
Is that the improvements that they made to those programs at the high school are a moving target, and they're like ratcheting them up year by year.
Uh-huh.
So we would want to make sure that we have updated information before we assume that they
That's right.
don't exist.
Yes.
Because I did see a story in a Portland paper that one of our VOC programs actually gave equipment to a Portland program that was forcing closure because they didn't want to see it close. So I mean,
Sure.
we are doing good things, and we need to recognize the efforts that they are doing with sustainable vocational programs where people are graduating from out of school with the ability to get a decent job. So
And
they are doing stuff. We want to make sure we give the school credit for what they are doing.
So it seems like Short Shore is the PR on it, that they were not
Yeah.
doing it.
They are doing,
this-
they are doing
And I
stuff,
found
but
it.
we want to make sure we're complimenting that.
So.
It wasn't our school
that-
system, it was PCC that sponsored
Well,
that.
That concludes our goals, right? So now,
kind
Well-
of, and these, we'll clean them up and
First
get
pass.
yes.
First pass.
yes,
Yeah.
the first pass.
First pass, thank
And
you.
that's what I was getting ready to say, is that it looks like we have next steps, council team agreement.
Let's,
So next steps, is that where we're at now on this? I'm just curious.
let's go to the next steps, because this is an ongoing conversation. This has been great work, and thank you all for your commitment and doing this work. This is the really hard stuff, and that first part, like, that's really the tough stuff, you know? So here was where I started, when this all started, but, you know, we need some concrete next steps. We need to be coming back together with the updated goal language. I think a SWOT would be really super helpful, and having you all prioritize at the governance level, right? You're setting direction and you're watching the dots, right? And we need to be connecting those dots. But the oversight piece, that kind of high-level direction needs to come from this body for staff to function effectively, right? Staff are generally the folks who implement and manage.
If you could hand me Gresham's gold, for a quick second there, John.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is something a little bit different than their goal.
I thought you said Gretchen at first. I was like, who's Gretchen?
The Hillsborough one has the yellow cover down
That's
there.
Gretchen, sorry.
That's the same consultant, same process.
This is their goals. This is what I was given by,
I did like the
when I did
sheets.
the OMA, and
It's actually a little different.
the OMA section, and
Oh,
everybody, they showed us 3 different forms of goals and how they set them. And this was Gresham's goal setting at the time. In that seminar at the Oregon Mayor Association, and that's where I got this from. But I love it because it gives you the implementation, new projects, and multi-year projects, so long-term and projects right now. And then it gives them ownership. Eric Chambers, Joe Walsh, John's brother.
Well,
Eric Schmidt,
Like
Eric
our
Schmidt. It has project owners on here.
and
I know we're a very much smaller staff, but that's what I want. I want to be able to say, where are we? And not have it because of something. I want one individual calling, and I want to be able to, I think we should have the ability to be able to call that person forward
Accountability and a
and
timeline.
get some answers.
Yes.
Not just one with many and say, well, I got all this other stuff going on, and it's kind of priority, it just wheels fell off. Well, no, that's not where we're at. We need to start prioritizing these.
Correct, and I feel like, you know, the way that we report as staff to you can absolutely be improved, like.
So the
work
next steps, in
session-
my opinion, are
be
somehow
improved.
getting to this form of styles, or whatever those projects are, of something like that style.
And I would recommend that we clean this document up, we bring it back, we set a SWOT exercise, and you all prioritize, and items are assigned.
Yeah, if I can just chime in as well
Yeah.
to build on that. This is a great foundation document for putting those projects in where they fit. And once we get those projects from you guys, we get those projects from staff like Keith and you all were talking about earlier, and Rachel, then we put those all on the list and we prioritize what's gonna be done this year, what's gonna be done in 3 years, what's gonna be done in 5. And that gives us direction with staff.
Well, and just for me, because some things take 2 or 3 years. And so just because it's not a priority this year, doesn't mean somebody shouldn't be assigned to it and be looking into things, you know, and getting things ready. Because, you know, look at the sign, look at the industrial property. That doesn't get ready in a minute. There's many steps.
So-
And that's why you review that project list every single year.
Yeah, it's like, who's
This is-
doing the rock,
this is
who's
that
doing
budget
this, who's
process
doing
of
utilities.
So if we'd have hired that, if we'd have called Joe Shealy or somebody, we'd have had that done in a,
Be done.
yeah, the minute we'd have been cutting a check the next council
There would
meeting.
have been lawn chairs out there.
So that's what I guess I would like to see is one of my objectives and goals that I would like to see, and I think you all have the same, but I could be wrong, would be to project waterfront development as far as 45 million is what I heard from Dwight Untie, and project that, what that tax is, Matt, from all the taxing districts into the urban renewal, and that we supplement that with timber for 5 years right now, that projected, and leverage that money, which will probably leverage just maybe 10 million, could, and supplement with that with timber money for the next projected 5 years with the timber revenue, anticipated that that'll be completed in 5, and the urban renewal will be paying, that investment will actually, and it shouldn't be hard, it's all mathematical. So,
All right,
it can be done. We can start moving forward in the next steps on this.
I have, go on.
I was just gonna say one thing, if you as a council, I know, I see Keith's already got a list of projects going on, he's been writing this whole entire meeting. But if you have specific projects, like Keith has mentioned, like you all have mentioned, you all have projects that you want to accomplish and things you wanna get done. Start writing those down, give those to Rachel or myself. We can start plugging those into this new document, and when we meet again and start prioritizing, we can start those
Then
discussions.
we'll do the prioritization
And Once
and the,
we figure out what projects are on the list, which ones we're gonna put on the wayside for now,
well, we need to meet again real soon.
then
I
then
thought
we can
had set
assign.
aside another meeting 2 weeks from today.
That's 2 weeks, yes,
That was an option.
that was an option.
No, I thought that was the deal.
It could be if we're all
I knew
available.
we couldn't get it
Well,
all done in one. I
Well,
knew.
giddy up, St. Helens. Like, here we go. Hey, and my machine is gonna die. But before we break and before we leave, I just want to thank you for your good work. But I also want to talk about group agreements, and I want to talk about how we interact with each other and how you as a council set the tone for the culture in our city. I feel like tonight has been awesome, and there has been a lot of coming together and honoring each other's voices. These were some suggested group agreements that I stole from the school district.
Yeah.
But if you would like to look through and see if there is anything you would like to add or remove, we can't move forward if we're not unified in mission.
The allow uninterrupted voices and opinions, I think we all get, that, excuse me, I'm speaking. So I think
We all need to
do
work on that one.
Well,
It's just an
allow
observation.
uninterrupted voices, but opinions, Those are two different things. You know,
We'll try our best on that. That's all I can say, because we're all.
that's the voices, the
That's
opinions.
all you're doing on this entire list is these are goals and aspirations for you during a meeting, during these
Well, I'm hoping that
discussions.
those 12 principles, you guys, I've actually been reading them quite a bit, and it really has rekindled me of why I'm doing this and who I answer to that Dunkel gave to us. And that's why I read them, because I've been actually re-energized by that, and it just brought up this whole thing inside of me that I'm on the right path, and that ethically everything is, I'm a solid leader. I'm a solid leader, and I'm doing these things. I read it, and I'm doing them.
I'm all in
I'm
for
a
the
solid
Dunkel.
leader,
Let
and I
me-
believe
That's opinions. Oh,
Oh, I believe that. I'll read them I'm gonna start reading them every council work session. If you think there's one that I'm not doing, let me know, please, because I want to.
it was the opinions that I got.
I love those. Let's do them together at the beginning. I think that's
Yes,
awesome.
every work session,
I'm
I'm
all
gonna
in
start
for
doing
the
it.
Dunkel agreements.
Yep.
And if those are the group agreements or the Dunkel ones, I mean, they're all a little, but just to have that and have a way that we can work together and move forward.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good, be open.
Leave weapons at the door is one should probably be put on.
What do you say, Topaz? I didn't hear.
Weapons at the door.
I think there's already a sign on the door.
Did you say we're gonna be psychiatrists and people yell at us?
That's right. Surprising enough, Rick, when you take a look at a lot of people that come in and see how they act when they go home, you would be amazed how many people who come in and rant on us actually feel better.
Oh, absolutely.
They just want to be heard. They don't
Yes.
expect us to have all the answers.
John's like our corner
And-
therapy office down there.
A
Like,
huge amount
That's
of
why he really.
that's why.
medical service for a particular person. And that's not trivial. I mean, it's maybe a pain in the neck for you to listen, and your eardrums may be a little
I'm gonna
hurt.
go ahead and adjourn, so we can, I'm gonna adjourn, okay? We're adjourned.
Thank you. Go
Thank you
team.
for staying late, Lisa, sorry.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Go team.
Are the mics off?
Yes. No, we're not off yet. Oh,
Hold
you
your
were the
ground.
one to say yes, not me.
Don't piss off the county like Rachel did.
So what? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. You guys got some work to do. You guys have some work to do.